Welcome, everyone. This is Mike, Chris, and Elonzo from Go Cloud Careers, and we're going to have another really fun show for you. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the best tech jobs for the future. Now, these are some of the best tech jobs now, but they're really going to be the best tech jobs for the future. Many of these are going to be the highest paying tech jobs in the future. And guess what? A lot of these are going to be great tech jobs without coding. In case you're like me and you don't enjoy coding.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so
I can't figure out my headphones, let alone coding.
So there's that. But there will still be some coding growth here. A lot of these jobs are going to be fairly recession-proof tech jobs. And we're going to be talking about future-proof tech jobs because I've been in tech for a long time and I know how the tech is adapted. And I know all the great things that are going to be coming from it. And there's lots of things to talk about. So these are going to be the hottest tech jobs, the tech jobs for career changers. And that's what we do at Go Cloud Architects. We get people hired. Otherwise, I wouldn't have never found Go Cloud Careers. I wouldn't have great people like Chris or Elonzo. We're here to get the world cloud hired.
Oh, flattery will get you everywhere. I like that.
Great. What
are we what's Chow? Chow is great. Leo's great.
Yeah,
everybody's great.
Leo's great, amazing, great. And it's kind of nice that these jobs, as you can see, can be anywhere. Chow came to us from Vietnam. My family is sort of Greek, so that's kind of another story. Leo's over there in Brazil. Eddie's over there in Cameroon, Africa. Tech's making the world so small, which is why the tech jobs of the future are going to be so different. Now, that's a classy St. Petersburg background there, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, many of these jobs are going to be cloud architect jobs, cloud engineer jobs, solution architect jobs. There's the DevOps engineer career, which we'll talk about too, which I kind of like, even though it's not something that I do or have ever been involved in. And obviously cloud security architects and things. So we're going to talk about a lot in the future. We're going to go through some of the trends that have occurred in my last 25 years. And Chris is looking even more relaxed on the hammock over there. Which is pretty terrific.
Hey, you said remote. I'm just going with it.
That's about as.
I don't care where you guys are. As long as the stuff gets done, it doesn't matter to me. When I was at Cisco, I remember one of the senior directors calls me. I just had gotten there. I was brand new in my career. And he says, "Is that the ocean in the background?" I said, "Yes." I said, "It's Saturday morning at 6 a.m. and I'm going to call with you. I'm walking on the beach. I'm going to go do swim my mile in the ocean. Then I'm going to work all day." And he said, "Thanks, Mike. Just wanted to know if I could find you. Who answers on the beach?"
Hashtag hammock Chris.
Yeah, Chris. Yeah. But before we begin, I want to tell you about some really great things for you guys. On Thursday, we're going to have that How to Get Your First Cloud Engineer job. Normally, we do the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect job, but this is going to be a How to Get Your First Cloud Engineer job. Register for this. It'll be fun. If you want to build a cloud computing career as a cloud engineer, please join us. The link is in the description below. Now, this Friday, we're going to have more fun. We're going to do a free interview session. You want to go on a cloud architect interview? I will interview you. You want to have a cloud engineer interview? I will interview you. And by the end of this interview, not only will I give you coaching and feedback, which I know I'm going to charge about $500 an hour for, but you'll know if you're ready to get hired, and you'll know if you're not, and you'll know what you need to know if you're not ready now. So please join us completely free on the interview session on Friday. We're doing it free for you. Now, the next thing I'm going to tell you about is the average Go Cloud career student has a problem. They can't deal with all the recruiters that are reaching out to them and the hiring managers that are reaching out to them while they're still training. Alonzo is laughing because he knows it's true. Chris is laughing because he knows it's true. And the biggest issue that today, the students were asking me in class again, "Mike, I'm getting bombarded with recruiters. What do I do? I'm not ready yet." And I said, advise them how to build a relationship with the recruiters so when they're ready. So if you want to be bombarded and harassed by recruiters all day long and every day long from people that want to hire you, and trust me, this is what you want because you don't want to be applying for jobs and getting auto-rejected by HR. Attend our LinkedIn and resume workshop. It's going to be a 4-hour day. It's going to be a great day. Link is in the description below. So
even some, Mike, I won't name any names, but some are even getting personal correspondence from VPs of large consulting firms to see what kind of job you want.
Wow.
That's true. Today we had a student where the CEO of this very large multi-billion-dollar trading company reached out to him basically because he saw that he participated in a webinar, loved his LinkedIn post specifically in response to one of mine, and is now asking where he would like to work and what he's interested in. When I heard that in class today, Elonzo, I was pretty happy.
Boom. I mean, essentially, he's getting his own ticket, a blank check on what you're going to do with your career, along with compensation. And that particular firm is known for paying out significant bonuses and salaries as well. So with that type of trajectory, should that person choose to go with that, he's going to be very well off.
Yes, he will. And, he took some of our LinkedIn branding more seriously than anybody. I remember we had him in class. He did some tuning. And I remember it's like, I got 15 people that reached out to me. And I'm like, yep, that's because you're doing something right. He took advantage of the LinkedIn. So if you want to be like our students, join us for the LinkedIn and resume workshop. Now, you still have to be able to back it up with something. Getting an interview means you've got an interview. But if you're ready to be hired, we'll get you hired.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if you're not, we can train you and get you hired. Happens to
There
us.
we go. Yeah.
No
So
matter your trajectory, you will get a solution from us. Definitely.
We'll get a solution for us. So as we talk about tech jobs and the best tech jobs for the future and the highest paying tech jobs in the future and recession-proof tech jobs, I think we need to analyze where tech is, where it's come from. So I'll give you a little bit from me, and then Chris is going to have some different perspectives, and then we'll actually get into some of the careers that I think are good when you actually understand where we've come.
Before we get started, let's figure out a hashtag we want to go with.
Yeah, so
aside from hashtag what is Chris drinking?
Our title for the video is Best Tech Jobs for the Future. So if everybody can give me a hashtag, Best Tech Jobs for the Future.
There we go.
And that would be cool. Obviously, these are going to be the most lucrative tech jobs and the hottest tech jobs too.
Hashtag Best Tech Jobs for
social media works. Robert Welch knows all about that. He's pretty strong on that.
Boom. I think I spelled that right. Best Tech Jobs for the Future. Yep.
Yeah.
First time's a charm.
Amazing what
I'm loving it. Daniel Mitra, Best Tech Jobs of the Future. Effie Tanese, Best Tech Jobs of the Future. Tracy, it's good to see you. Best Tech Jobs of the Future.
Oh.
Chow, Best Tech Jobs in the Future. Toby Leo, I'm loving this.
Yeah.
And actually, I should be catching up to my screen as opposed to all the other 6 screens going on in the room.
I apologize. Apparently, I got something that's making me sneezy. So
my cat's hasn't visited you, but
my cat is about like 500 times furrier than your cat.
That's true.
So, but that's neither here nor there. So if I sneeze, I'm sorry.
I can't apologize for sneezing. You gotta let it out.
You got allergies. Effie, thank you so much. That is such an honor. I'm so honored by this.
Yes.
I like Daniel's no coding required hashtag.
Yes, Daniel, you are so right. I don't code. I can't do it.
I got sent to coding training long ago. I hated it.
I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, probably.
Yeah.
There might be a little bit for some of these, but.
So I'm going to point where where my career has trended and the things that I've seen change. And then Chris is going to have some different perspectives on it because Chris has a different background than me, but he's got a very impressive background. So I started in the old days of tech, and yeah, I'm a dinosaur, but I'm very caring. So when I first started, I had a 1200 bits per second modem. That was the first modem that I had. And I was trying to do CAD on an 8086 computer with a 10 megahertz processor. And every time you would move something on a screen, like with the PC board I would try and design, it would take 5 minutes to redraw the screen. So I was in my computer-aided drafting and design class, and I had opened up the computer, and I was trying to overclock this thing to get it to like 11 megahertz to get just a little bit more power out of it, which I did until I burned up the system. But in any case, when I first did CAD, the reason I did CAD, and it was in high school, was the following reason. I was taking a drafting class because I wanted to learn to use my hands. And, let's just say I was about 2 weeks in the drafting class, like the woodworking class, because I wanted to learn how to use my hands, which I still haven't figured out. And the teacher says to me, he's like, Mike, how do you think this is going? And I'm like, well, not so good. For some reason, I'm struggling to draw a straight line. He says, "Your straight lines, your ellipses, your this." He's like, "How do you mess it up? You got the tools." And I said, "I don't know."
Your straight lines were ellipses.
Yeah. Straight.
That's some abstract action right there.
And the teacher says to me, he says, "Mike," he said, "I've never had a situation like you before." He said, "Normally the guys that are taking the woodworking, the metalworking, they don't love school." He says, you're a physicist. You're taking college anatomy classes and you're trying to learn how to use your hands and you're horrible at it." And he says, "I don't want to give you an F." He says, "Normally the people that I give an F to, they show up drunk or stoned. They don't want to be here. They skip classes." He says, "You're the first one in the class." He says, "You come and try after school and make up time, and it's still terrible. Maybe you think about something else." And he said, "Or," I'm like, "Okay, tell me the or." And he says, "Or we've got this brand new computer to do something computer-aided drafting and design. If you can make that work, that will be your class." So I made it work. Not only did I figure it out, but then I was also taking a college electronics class, which I loved. And I was designing PC boards on the CAD. And then I was teaching that class. And I got told by the teacher of the class, who also had a PhD in electronics, he says, "Mike," he says, "any chance you want to help tutor the students in here?" I said, "Yes." So I got my projects done in the beginning. I tutored the students. And I went to the gym when I wasn't busy and worked out. And he was totally okay with that. Because I was deadlifting 700 pounds in high school and squatting 500 pounds in high school. So I liked the gym. So there was that. So I got to that, and then I bought my first computer, and then I started with networks. The networks were old school networks. Dial-up, then frame relay, then this thing called ISDN, which was the digital phone line. ISDN was so aptly named, I still don't know, because it almost never worked. And the service provider would build you, and it was a cloud. And actually, the first cloud that I worked on was frame relay. And then the cloud was ISDN, and basically you'd get a switch digital connection to somebody's house without a modem. It was cool. It was 64K, and it was fast. And you could bundle two of these 64K links to 128K, and at very low latency. It was a very good line, at least in those days. Of course, you had to pay 2 cents a minute to use it, but that's neither here nor there. And that was assuming it was a local call. So we're doing frame relay, main networks, and ISDN. Okay, so those were the first two clouds. And then organizations started to say, like, hey, wait, this tech thing's a competitive advantage. Maybe we need more of it. So those frame relay networks turned into these ATM networks, which were much faster and connected lots of organizations. And then it became clear that, hey, wait, managing these networks are pretty darn complicated. Is there some other kind of solution that would make it easy? So poof, the internet service providers and Cisco and Riverstone, where I came from, and Juniper, they started a BGP cloud, which was basically this MPLS-based routed cloud. And on top of it, they'd create virtual private lines. Oh, wait, like Private Link in AWS. And that was the beginning of these services, and that was around 2000. That turned into, hey, wait, this BGP is too complicated. Let's make a new cloud. We'll call it Virtual Private LAN Service. And that was pseudo wires bridged across the network. And that's all it was. And then organizations started to say, oh, these cloud-based networks are really cool. Wouldn't it be cool if we could take the competitive advantage that we're getting? And here's what happened. Organizations, as they built these networks, had higher speed networks. And then they started to realize they could reduce the cost of calls between New York and London, New York and Delhi for manufacturing with voice over IP. Voice over IP turned into unified communications. Not only could I call Chris when I wanted to, I could leave a message when I needed to. I could text him a message when I needed to. And Chris could set up rules where if I called Chris, who's my number 2, and it couldn't matter, he'd route the call automatically to Elonzo. Elonzo couldn't do it, it'd go to Leo. Then it would go to Chow and automatically find the people to make sure somebody got help. More competitive advantage. And then as these things occurred, e-commerce started to begin. And now organizations now have data centers, big and powerful data centers. And what happened in these data centers? Competitive advantage, right? Lots of routers, lots of switches, lots of servers, lots of storage. Huh. Does that sound like anything? Yeah. So they became the data centers of the past. Beautiful single servers. You stick all your stuff on a server, one application per server. Now, that was okay when I started out, when your servers were small and your CPUs were small. And out of nowhere, there was 2 cores, 4 cores, 6 cores, 12 cores, 128 cores, 198 cores, and the servers got big and big and big. So what did the companies do to gain competitive advantage? They now put a VMware environment in, and they hyper-converged their data center, where they had a control plane of the data center, and you could create virtual machines on demand plugged into the storage network. Cloud computing. Yeah, organizations built their own clouds 20 years ago. Cloud computing at its first. And then the cloud provider, like Amazon, started building its own hyper-converged data center, and then thought maybe they'd try and sell it to somebody else. And it worked out so well, renting other people's data centers. Rackspace did it. It used to be called co-location. Microsoft then decided to build its own cloud. Google decided to build its own cloud. There's cloud providers everywhere. So we went from is the network to data centers, to now hyper-converging the network and the data centers with VMware, and now outsourced rented hyper-converged centers. And why? Because organizations started to realize that the tech provided a competitive business differentiator. The tech could make organizations make better business decisions quicker. The tech made boundaries limitless. I've got Eddie on my team in Bamenda, Cameroon. He's not in Port St. Lucie, Florida with me. I don't need to look at him to talk to him. He's a continents away. And we talk as if we're local. Competitive advantage from the tech. Now I can sell my product all over the world. I've got students in Africa, and I can give you 10 different countries there, in India, in Pakistan, in Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Singapore, Canada, all over South America. And we're all able to do it. So more competitive advantage, the tech made the world closer. So now the cloud providers are there. Now, as we get into the cloud providers, do you think the cloud providers have caught up to the data centers of the past? No, not yet. Not at all. When we deal with these cloud providers, they're catching up with the stuff that's 15 years old in the data center. They're still catching up. They do some things more agile, which I like, but they're catching up. The networking is slow. The storage is horribly slow in the cloud. It's just not there yet, but it's getting better by the day. Want to know where the cloud's going? Look at the best performing data centers of the world, and now you know. But these networks were built by accident. Somebody had an idea, they'd try a piece of tech. Steve Jobs came up with a cool Mac. Well, let's try it. It's got to be helpful. Hey, let me see if I can sell my product on the internet. Oh, wait, it worked. Hey, if these people are doing it, maybe I should. We were successful in tech in spite of ourselves. We didn't know what it was for. And the technology professionals of the past that are there, guess what? They could make the tech work. I remember tech people that we locked in the basement that didn't shower. I remember people that I brought food in them for each day. And we were told, don't let them talk to anybody, but we need them because they're this good. I went into things and seen people post the most offensive things in their cube while they were coding 20 years ago. And the only reason they were allowed because they were the only people that knew how to work the tech. But the tech is simple now. The cloud took things that would take lots of people and made it easy. So the tech professional of the future is going to change. But the way these networks and the data centers got built haphazardly. Here's some tech. Let's see what we can do with it. Oh, there's a cool Mac. Hey, wait, we made a graphic. Can this graphic become a video? Hey, wait, there's a digital camera. Now, voice over IP, it just keeps growing, growing, and growing. And when we get to the jobs of the future, soon we're going to be there. But also, data. Chris has got a lot more knowledge on data than me. And I want to talk about, how do we get to data?
Oh, yeah, you want me to talk now? Okay, all right. I was trying to do the hear no evil thing, all right. So apparently I've got some kind of lag on my end, so I'm trying to keep up. And and make sure I'm on top of things. So, Mike, if you would be so kind as to redo that segue for me.
So absolutely. So we kind of accidentally found ways to be successful with tech. Initially, the world was give me the eggheads that are the smartest, because they were the only people that made it work. And then those eggheads turned into engineers that could start to talk to people,
right?
Called sales engineers. That moved into architect roles, the people that understood the tech and figured out how to use the tech and apply it to improve the business.
Gotcha. Okay.
But, the data thing is kind of the same way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Talk about how organizations got started with data.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I find this very interesting. So I'm not talking about any specific roles right now. We're just talking about how we got to where we are, right? And what
and then we'll get to the roles.
And then, okay, good. All right. So I'm sorry if there's a lag on my end, but it looks like a lag. I don't know if there actually is, but you guys can tell me if there is or not. So I have a little bit of experience in the data field as it relates to data science and technology. But I quickly migrated away from that. But like Mike said, just like people stumbled, into tech, businesses and companies stumbled into data. So if you think about it, the biggest names in the industry right now when it comes to data, Google, Facebook, they didn't start off with data. Google started off as purely a search engine. You literally just went to Google, you typed in a search, there wasn't anything else. The search results popped up, there wasn't anything else. They didn't, they eventually realized, oh, there's a lot of data here. So they literally stumbled into data. Same thing with Facebook. The truth behind Facebook is that they started off as a rating your fellow students for their hotness on campus, and now they've turned into this massive multi-billion-dollar company that's constantly in the news about their data practices. Again, they stumbled into data. So just like Mike talks about how we're at the very beginning of cloud, we're just now starting to see what cloud is capable of. Same thing with data. We're just at the beginning of data. Data is literally everywhere. So these roles of data analyst, data scientist, data engineer, data architect, data this, data that, they're at the beginning too. Like the roles that we see out there now as it relates to data are not going to be the roles that are going to be here 5 years from now. The responsibilities will still be there, but the responsibilities will have probably shifted roles. Right now, if you look at the job descriptions of most data-related jobs, right now, the lowest paying data job is the one that is supposed to take the information and help the business. So we know if history has anything to say that's gonna flip very fast.
Yeah, very fast.
So I always found that interesting that the lowest paying role in data was the one that was supposed to transform the business. So anyway, I know that there's a lag on my end. I'm seeing it in the chat box. I'm seeing it in our private chat. So I'm going to leave and come back, see if that fixes the lag. If that's okay with you, Mike, because I want to take part in this conversation, but I don't want it to be like a headache for people to try and keep up with my sound in my video.
Okay. So while he does that, I'm going to send an interesting trend. While he logs off, it used to be that the techies, the ones that were the deepest tech, were the most in demand. As the tech got stable, as the tech got mature, as the tech got more reliable, as the tech got simpler, all of a sudden, now your techies are the bunch of your lowest paid.
Yeah.
And the people that know what to use the tech for are your highest paid. So that's the thing. Data science, etc. This is new. It's brand new. I mean, yeah, there have been data scientists out there for a couple of years now, but the field is new. People still haven't figured out what to do with the data yet. And when you're dealing with data science training, the people that are supposed to be doing this, realistically speaking, what are you seeing? They're not getting MBAs. They're not getting CXO relevancy training. They don't know how to communicate to the decision makers because it's not part of their training because there's still so much tech to be taught. So, we're going to get there. So hopefully Chris will come back because Chris has got a lot of data science background and training.
Man, I came back at the wrong time. Hush your mouth.
There you go.
Perfect timing.
Chris doesn't want people to know exactly how much knowledge he has in a lot of places.
Yeah, I still think I have a lag. So
Nope, you're on time this time.
Okay.
It looks much, much better. So what I was explaining, Chris, is initially when the tech was unknown, the biggest techies were the most that are getting paid, and not the people that were more soft and businessy. Then, when the tech got stable and reliable and easy to use, as the cloud has gotten easier to use, now it's a commodity who's the techie. And the people that actually know what to do with the tech are now the bigger players. So we're going to see that with data too, at least I think so. Especially because in most data science programs, they don't deal with CXO relevancy, emotional intelligence, how to read financial statements, how to, et cetera. So there's like all these things that they wanted the job to do, but they still focus on the tech and the training predominantly because there's only so much time in school.
Exactly. That's one of the things with data. So I firmly believe that moving forward, I was telling, yeah, never mind. I'm not going to go down that route. But moving forward, I think that there's two big avenues of tech jobs moving forward: data-related tech jobs and cloud-related tech jobs. Just because that's where everything is going. Everything is going to data, and everything is going to cloud, and data is everywhere, literally everywhere, and it's continuing to multiply. It's continuing to grow exponentially, literally exponentially, every year. So there's going to be the need for people that can take all of that data, manipulate that data, find information in that data, and then communicate it effectively.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if not, we end up in the world where I used to play before people truly understood architecture. Translator mode. Go meet the techies that are all rocket scientists. Speak to them in whatever language they were speaking to me, which I understood. Take that in, assimilate it, and explain it to the executives who had the money to make a decision. And actually, while we're at it, let's talk about where architecture roles actually came from. My friend Daryl was the first architect I ever met. I mean, I had an architect title, but he was the real architect. I was a principal architect, and Daryl was the real architect. I'd go in there and they'd be like, Mike, I need you to architect this situation. And I'd get there and I'd be staring at somebody's BGP. That was no architecture there. That was engineering. Daryl would go to the customer and ask what they wanted. Then he'd find, okay, it's video. Let me speak to all the video encoder manufacturers. Let me speak to all the middleware manufacturers. Let me talk to these firewall people to secure it. And in the end, he'd have this end-to-end thing. He'd call me, Mike, how do I make the multicast work? And I was happy to help him. He had this beautiful end-to-end design. And he realized that he couldn't know it all. So he focused as the integrator. He was the first architect that I ever made. And then IBM, and they were the architecture people. IBM, they didn't just deal with what's little box here or this little server here. They did an end-to-end solution. So IBM is really where your architects began. Old school IBM. IBM would have expert executives, and they had sales reps that would literally go golfing and go to the weddings of their customers. I mean, they had deep, deep, deep interpersonal relationships. They hired a lot of MBAs. They hired a lot of business experts. They had business consulting groups. And Cisco, big architecture company. I was part of the big architecture team, designing solutions for industry verticals. I worked in the healthcare field. And I remember when Cisco transitioned from engineering to architecture, because they wanted to create an end-to-end solution. They came up with this architectural framework called the service-oriented network architecture. They presented it to me and asked me to teach it to others. And I went, oh my God, I love this. I explained this to some business executives. They'd hug me. I finally get the tech now, Mike. I explained it to the engineers and they said, where's the beef? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you're talking about a business layer here. You're talking about a data layer over here. Where's the beef? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, which router module do I need? Which routing protocol do I need? Which cable here? And I said, this. And nobody got it. So then I translated that to the engineers and then they got it. I was on Cisco TV and then they got it. Cisco started having architects. Microsoft started hiring architects. Architects were business experts that also knew the tech, how the tech would make a difference for the business. And they were MBAs, they were director level or VP level positions. They were the world I come from, these elite architecture worlds. And then they came up with a cloud architect, which is basically an enterprise architect for the cloud, same thing for the solution architect. And then they came up with this weird technical architect role, which is exactly an engineer. It's no different. It's like an engineer that you like and you don't know what to pay them. So you call them a technical architect and they do engineering work. But, you know, I had a job called customer solutions manager for a while. I asked my manager what was that, and he said, it's the only title we can give you where we can give you this rate and pay you what you need to be. Are you okay with that? And I'm like, yeah, you can call me the model washer. You can call me the dishwasher. I don't care.
Right.
You can call me Joe. I don't even care.
Yeah, actually, so that's something, I know it's not related to our topic of the best tech jobs of the future, but that's something that I think is important for a lot of people to remember. It doesn't matter what your job title is.
Right.
It matters what you take home in the bank. I mean,
yes.
or what you accrue in the or what you accrue in the PTO bank, or what you know, if you had the flexibility to do what you want to do, you know, if that's important to you, you know, what, it doesn't matter what your title is. It matters what what matters is if the company is willing to give you what you desire, whether it's higher pay, more flexibility, or the title. We've had people get hired from our program where they're literally asked, what title should we give you? Because the title doesn't matter. It's whatever you desire. If the title is what you desire, then of course it matters. But sorry, I had a little tangent for me there. Now that I'm not lagging behind.
No, I think it's good. In fact, I was part of something called an Internet Business Solutions Group. Microsoft has a business solutions group. And a lot of these big tech companies are. And what are they? They're industry experts that they hire. They hire doctors to be in the medical group. They hire bankers to be in the banking business industry group. Airplane pilots to be in the transport business groups. And why do they do it? So you can actually have a relevant solution for your customer that solves their business problems.
Yeah, it doesn't do any good to have somebody that doesn't know what the heck is going on. It's
it's not good business.
I remember this conversation. I won't mention this guy's name, and then we'll get into the jobs. He was an engineer, and I was in the sales engineer. We were on the same team, and I was saying that the Cisco was starting a vertical to have specialty medical people work in that vertical from a medical background. And I said, I'm going to apply for that job. And he says, yeah, I will too. I'd like to design medical things. And I said, interesting. And he says, why would you apply for this job? I said, because I can practice medicine. And he says, what does that have to do with your ability to engineer anything? And I said, I'm not going to be engineering anything. It could be architecting something. If you don't understand the business, how can you solve their problems? Why do we need to know their business? Let's face it, he did interview for a position. They laughed at him because I was hired first and he did interview. And they're like, why did you let me even interview this person? I said, he was interested. You already committed to interviewing him. Who was I going to get in the way of a person trying to get a job? I remember telling my manager laughed and he says, why would he act like industry didn't? I said, I don't know. But the point is, we went from the techie world to now people that know how to do something with the tech. Do something with the tech, not just build the tech. So let's get into the jobs that we think are great for the future. They're all going to be on the cloud or data side, but I want you to understand this. Just because the cloud is simple, doesn't mean it doesn't get complex very quickly. Why does the cloud get complex? Because the cloud is a rented data center. A rented data center, meaning not yours. It's a virtualized data center. And because it's not yours and it's a rented data center, you lose a lot of the security, networking, and performance that you had in the data center because it can't compete yet. So the complexity in the cloud is segmentation. For example, in the network, I can make 300 VLANs and isolate my people and route between them and create packet filters and use 802.1x authentication to make sure people can't plug in, do private VLANs, all kinds of cool stuff. I can't do any of that kind of security in the cloud. I can't do QoS in the cloud. I can't do any of those things in the cloud. So in order to make the cloud almost as secure as the data center, now you might need 1,000 VPCs to try and work around the weaknesses of the cloud. So now when you try and deal with the next generation firewall, which in data center, you just rack and plug in. Now on the cloud, you've got to go to some marketplace solution and find a network load balancer to front-end virtual machines, which are not the same as physical machines. You got a GRE tunnel, multicast through your system because the multicast isn't allowed. There's just so much stuff that gets complex because the cloud can't keep up with the network in the data center. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. The cloud is catching up. The cloud is incredible. I love it. So those great jobs from the past, the good ones, the high-paying ones, we still need them in the cloud. The cloud network engineer, network architect, I got to tell you right now, I see these two positions as hugely powerful. The architects like me are going to figure out how do you deal with 1,000 VPCs across 2 different clouds. Believe me, there's a lot that goes into that noodle work to make this stuff work. And the cloud network engineer architect is critical for this. No network, nothing works. That's why the CCIE, even in today in a world where people are ending their data centers, is still a high demand job and a high demand certification. And that's why cloud providers are hiring our CCE sometimes with just a couple of weeks training. Because the network knowledge is so portable, critical. That's for the cloud network architect, the designer. But I can design a big, beautiful cloud network architecture, but somebody's got to build it. That cloud network engineer is critical. Why do we love network engineering and network architecture? Because almost nobody understands it. I'm not joking. Almost nobody understands the network. Almost nobody. I interviewed 5,000 network engineers and hired 10. 3 of them didn't understand networking at all. Never even learned it. I hired them because they had a good personality. And of the other 7 out of the 10, none were great. They were good enough for me to train them. None were great. It's that hard to find someone good at networking. And I know network engineers earning $300,000 and $400,000 a year. That's how hard it is to get a good networking engineer. So cloud network architect, cloud network engineer, definitely in our list of critical jobs. Now we start moving our systems to the cloud, which is inherently less secure than our data center. The more stuff goes on the cloud because it's cheaper. There's no barriers to entry in the cloud, right? In the data center, the big people can afford it. But now with the cloud, people in my village in Greece can do it. Somebody wants to start a supermarket in Bamenda, Cameroon. There's no servers to buy. It's pay for what you use. Somebody in Istanbul, Turkey wants to start a Guido stand, and they want to turn that into a franchise. Actually, it's probably better in Athens, Greece, but in Constantinople or Istanbul, they do eat a lot of Greek foods like moussaka, things like that. They're very Greek and Turkish, but same thing. Nothing to buy. Can open it up throughout the world and use the cloud. So we love the cloud things, but now everything's on the cloud. You're going to get hacked. Okay, so hacking, the more and more stuff we put on the cloud. Internet of Things devices. People actually wear IP-enabled phones. There are people that I see talking to their phones. I can't imagine why, but they do it. And texting on my phone. I can't even imagine that. Like, why would anybody want to do that? But still, people do it. Apparently, I've got a Fire Stick now which my brother gave me, which is like the coolest device in the world if I could ever figure out how to use it. It's really, really cool, but I don't know how to use it. I mean, but the point is there's stuff going on. My my sauna that I sit in is actually IP enabled.
Yep.
Now, every one of these things that goes on, guess what? It's a new venue, means to hack me. It's a new attack vector. So the more stuff goes online, especially a shared network like the cloud, the more security. So I see 3 big jobs for the future. Cloud security architects, the people that can make it work or design it so end to end. And you need the architect that has this end to end knowledge, because otherwise your engineers are focused on one piece. No, you deal with a warrior, a sniper. They're focused on their scope. What do they see? Their scope, nothing else. They can't be breaching a door at the same time. The airline pilot that's focused on flying the plane cannot be handing out drinks and putting oxygen masks on people at the same time. The doctor saying the patient's in a hospital cannot be at the hospital dealing with administering medications. You can only do one thing at a time. So security architects and security engineers, really big. Now, for a while, we think penetration testers are going to be still have a career. People that break into the cloud, ethical hackers break into organizations. I don't know if that's going to be a long-term, highly sustainable career, though, because I'm assuming we'll have some AI and ML tools that are going to make it easier to do some breaking and testing. So I figured that one probably has 10 years before we have to rethink that career. Now, penetration testers that have better social skills, communication skills, that are a little better at showing the human side of it and walking in somewhere and not just using a Kali Linux or an Nmap and doing some social engineering and being able to explain their findings, those people will always be in need. But the pure tech ethical hackers, I just don't see it long term. I think AI ML stuff will take care of that. So love the architect, love meaning like the network architect, love the security architect. I see lots of good things going there. Now, the cloud architect and the enterprise architect, I think that's the best job for the future. That's why I'm so focused on it. I absolutely love this job for this following reason. When you marry a business executive that can influence budgets and tune a business and really look at the business inputs and outputs and make business recommendations, and an expert that knows how to use the technology to improve the business, that is a very powerful position. It's not uncommon to find architects earning $500,000 a year if they're good on the business side at the high end. Solution architects, enterprise architects, cloud architects at the high end. We see this as a hugely beneficial career for the future. Hugely. It's one of our favorite. We do teach this with a cloud architect career development program. Now, the cloud engineer is still a favorite career of mine. And here's the reason. The cloud engineer is the person that's going to bring all these cloud solutions to life. We've got a lot of stuff to move to the cloud. Lots of it, lots of it, and lots of it. And not only are we barely getting to the cloud, now we got to go multi-cloud, because nobody's going to be crazy enough to be a single cloud. We're hearing it from executives. They all want to be multi-cloud or hybrid cloud, multi-cloud. More multi-cloud than anything else, and distributed clouds. Cloud engineers there. Now, we don't train this career, and we train cloud engineers. We got an incredible cloud engineer program. Now, we don't train DevOps engineers, but I see a good career here for the future. I see DevOps as an exceptional engineering career for those people that are already software developers, love to code, that now want to take that software development knowledge they have, get into a more automation environment. And here's the reason I love DevOps engineering. I don't teach it. I'm not a software engineer. I don't code. I can't teach it. And I don't teach things that we don't know. I don't just take a certification and say, hey, we got a course for you. We actually care about our students getting hired. We're not a certification provider that's going to sell a bundle that's going to destroy somebody's career. And we can't teach what we're not experts on. But DevOps engineers are automation and more automation. One DevOps engineer can take away the job of 30, 40, 50 cloud admins and deploy stuff almost instantaneously. Deploy 1,000 virtual machines in 2 minutes. Shut them all off in 2 minutes for a batch job of testing something. Deploy 1,000 VPCs. Shut them down, move them from one cloud to the other. DevOps engineering in both networking and cloud we see as a brilliant one. A brilliant one. We don't teach it, it's not our strength, but I see it as an exceptionally good career, on and off the cloud. Now, here's the data thing. There's going to be some big data career that's going to be high end. And I see it as one of two possibilities here. I see some new flavor of a data scientist that actually does what the data scientist should have done, where instead of a PhD in advanced math, you've got an MBA equivalent in terms of business acumen, knowledge, business inputs and outputs, as well as a deep understanding of the tech. The kind of tech to use, the kind of models to build, the kind of ways to train these things. That person I see as a highly valuable person. Half data scientist, half business executive. And I still see some flavor of a techie data scientist that I don't know what it really is yet, because I think it hasn't been figured out. And this is a person that's actually good at implementing these models, but also, what are some of the really critical tools that data scientists use? They got to parse through large volumes of information, right? So in addition to SQL and Excel and all these other tools, there's a lot of machine learning and artificial intelligence there. I see those people, the techie side of the data scientists, doing some machine learning, artificial intelligence applications for the future as well. I don't see people just getting certified in machine learning and have a career with that. But you've got to know how to use that.
Yeah, just to chime in here, since you went back into my area of expertise, I guess is what we're going to call it. I say dabble. You say expertise. I don't know. Like I said previously, if you look at the data roles out there right now, you have the data analyst, you have the data scientist, and you have the data engineer. As far as levels of compensation. Interestingly enough, if you just again looking at just job descriptions, it's not the best, but the data analyst down here is the one that literally has the word interpret in its description. And as Mike has said previously, and again, history shows this, once a industry becomes mature enough to where the tech is so commonplace. Use me for example. When I was in college, coding was not like everything.
Yeah.
But it was you got to code. You're going to code. It was going to be the next big thing, because that's what people were thinking. And then it became mature and it became saturated. At that time, coders were paid really well. Now coders are a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
Like Micah said, there's going to be a new flavor of role in data. I have no clue what it is, but right now that interpreter is the lowest paying in that field, which doesn't correlate to what a mature field looks like. When it's a mature field, that interpreter is going to be the one that's hardest to find.
Yep.
And then so it won't have the name data analyst, because the data analyst has become synonymous with the lowest paying. So it's going to become it will be a different title.
Yes.
But the responsibilities will be the data analyst responsibilities. So like the data analyst will go away.
I wonder what those new tech names were going to be and what the trends are that would lead to those new changes.
Yeah, so that role of data analyst is going to change or go away, and this new role is going to appear. Data manager, data, I don't know. It might be as simple as, instead of data analyst, data analyzer.
Yeah,
you know,
you never know, right? It's
or data interpreter, data, you know. But there's going to be this new flavor that's what the existing data analyst is. At least that's what I think. And and I'm by no means a data science or data engineering expert when you look at other people out there in the field. But that's just my perspective from a business person. As the chief operating officer, to me, that data analyst, if his responsibility is interpreting and communicating and making sure that I understand, that data analyst, to me, is the most important person.
Yeah.
And
the living network, if you will, to communicate both sides of the fence.
Yeah. So that's not to say that data scientists and data engineers will be affected. They will long term, way down the road. But short term, I think data scientists and data engineer roles will continue to be at the level that they are. But there's going to just be this new role that is similar to an architect if we were to line them up side by side.
And note, I never list programming in a top tech career, ever. And there's reasons for this. I'll make it clear. I'm an executive. I'm an economist. I'm a finance guy who also knows tech. That's why I'm an architect. I know the tech very well, but as architects, we're all more focused on the business than the tech. The supply and demand curve show us that the higher the supply, the lower the price. The higher the supply and the shorter the demand. So, you try and find the qualified network architect, you can't. And you're searching all over the place. I need a Java developer. That's nothing. I can hire a Java developer by the end of the day. Yeah. And globally, I could find somebody in Africa, India, Pakistan, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, Taiwan, literally speaking, by the end of the day. And I can get good and qualified people. Now we're dealing with a global talent pool, everyone. So now everybody in college, for the most part, is taught to code. And I can hire anybody in the world. Where am I going to hire my people? Where they're most motivated and willing to work. And sometimes the hungriest people are the people that need to work the most. And, what people will do in my village in Greece for a job and how hard they're willing to work is much different than my neighbors outside that, are already, relatively wealthy. They've never struggled a day in their life. And so coding, I see that outsourced. I just do. And any of these hands-on techie positions, doesn't matter where your stuff is configured from, anywhere in the world. When I used to be in Piscataway, New Jersey, configuring routers in Mexico City, Krakow, Poland, Mexicali, Sao Paulo, Colum, Panama, Panama City. And then it would be Detroit. And then it would be Mumbai. I think they were calling it Bombay at the time, or Mumbai, I can't remember. And then there would be Delhi, and then there'd be, it didn't matter where I was at. It just doesn't matter. So for a lot of these transitional careers, I just see them that it doesn't matter. But everything's going to the cloud. All those same jobs we used to have, they're going to the cloud. They've just changed. Why have they changed? Because the cloud is so easy. It's just so easy. I had to read 75,000 pages of reading from my CCIE. And that was just one fraction of networking, just one little tiny component, routing and switching. It didn't include unified communications. It didn't include security. It didn't include wireless. It was just one little thing, routing and switching. And that was 75,000 pages. Now, to be a cloud architect, a good one, we could probably shrink that down to 25,000 pages. Now, I'm not talking about the 500 pages in a certified solution architect professional. That's like an intro to junior level anything. But still, 25,000 for the whole cloud versus 75,000 just for routing and switching. Let's get your input, Elonzo. You've always got a good perspective on these kind of things.
Well, I'm thinking as we continue to move forward, with all the new technology and things that are happening, I mean, I personally, I love security. I love the security aspect of cloud architecture. And when you think about the ransomware, you think about just recently, like, was it not too long ago, a couple of years ago, they held a pipeline down here in Texas, ransom, and they locked it down. And that was either because of two things: either they didn't invest in an updated architecture, or rather three things. The architecture wasn't good enough, the people who were administrating weren't good enough, or someone left the back door open. So when you think about a lot of these points and what it takes, and you see such an uptick of ransomware and a lot of these issues happening, even to the point where you've got these stupid bots coming in. I mean, from highest to lowest in urgency, I think it's so important to get really qualified security architects out there, or at least those who are really good in the architecture and they have a particular SME in next-gen firewalls, IDS, IPS, being able to really lock down this networking. So I like to see what's going to happen in the trends moving forward in the future, and what those jobs may morph into, or if they're going to continue to focus explicitly on security, or are they going to start building new compliance, or you're going to have to learn more about NIST, or certain government databases where they're able to house these different securities. How is that all going to play in the future, with security and cloud architecture?
And I think we're just approaching the beginning. Zero trust isn't new, but we're going to have to get there with the cloud, especially because the cloud is less inherently secure. I mean, but it's a shortage of people that know what the tech actually does.
Yeah,
that's the problem. We can find lots of people that know how to touch the tech, but if you can't make it benefit the business, what's the point of all the tech? And that's what people often forget. I remember I used to compete all the time. I worked for this company that had engineers. Oh my God, these engineers were incredible. I still, 20 years later, can't even imagine a better group of engineers than this. I was at Riverstone Network, and we had engineers. These engineers were incredible. I'd been there. There'd been about 13 layoffs when I was there. And the people that survived all 13 layoffs were unbelievable. And we'd compete against Cisco. We'd compete against Juniper. And when we compete against Cisco, we'd lose. And it was, I mean, I didn't understand it because I was really young at the time. We'd compete against Cisco, and our box would be better. We'd do these performance bake-offs. We'd beat out Cisco. I mean, our ASICs were faster, our switch was faster, and we'd lose every single deal. And I remember the people on my team would go to the VP of sales, who was my manager, and say, "We beat him on the tech." And the VP would say, "But you lost the deal." "But we won." "No, the purchase order went to somebody else." And it didn't dawn on me. It didn't dawn on me at all at the time. And I was like, what's going on? Until I spoke to somebody from Cisco. They said, look, you're trying to show that you got a bigger, better mousetrap. You do. But how's your mousetrap going to make the company money? Huh? How does your mousetrap offer new service offerings to your customer to make them better? Huh? What happens when your company goes out of business? You've done 13 public layoffs in the last year. Who's going to support the product?
Yeah.
Huh. Now, when somebody buys your product and it doesn't work and you can't come fly here, Mike, because we've heard great things about you, even though you're a competitor, who's going to make sure it works? Who's going to support it? If you're not there because you get sick, get hit by a bus, or go to Cisco and join us, where are you going to be? And I went, oh. And then I joined Cisco like a month later, and I got really lucky. On my first week at Cisco, actually it was my first day, John Chambers flies in. Now, if you've ever seen John Chambers, he is an amazingly dynamic guy, good guy. Wow, the things he did for his family at Cisco. And we were a family. And he got there, and the first thing that I made him say was, I heard him saying, he says, well, we're going to do things a little bit differently. He said, we used to only want to sell to smart people. And he said, that was real cool before.
You got a really small, you got a really small
it worked for everybody. And he said, look, you guys have gotten away with selling boxes. A router here, a switch here, and you've made a great company, but we're not a box company. We're an end-to-end technology provider. We want people that can sell a solution. You're not going to win because you got the best router this week. He said, you're going to win because you can make your customers more profitable, drive digital transformation, improve their business performance. And I went, oh my God. It was like hearing from Steve Jobs on my first day, because John Chambers in my mind was just as good of an innovator, and his ethics and business practices were amazing. And I was like, wow. And he said, look, it's not just about the tech. What can the tech do to make your customers more successful? How do we make their employee productivity better? How do we get the communications better? How do we make their business run better? And I went, oh my God. Like
so I got to interrupt here. Literally replace tech with data. It's not just about the data. How are you going to use the data to improve your business performance? How are you going to improve your employees' productivity with the data? How are you going to improve your consumers' experience with the data? Like, so that's why I say that. I'm here saying that data is like literally the biggest companies in data just stumbled into it. Like, I can only imagine what's going to happen when there's a company that purposely starts and invest all their time and energy into data from day one with a purpose. Like that's, I can't imagine what that's going to be like. And we won't see that from, for at least a few years, because even if there's a company that starts today focused purely on data and what can be done with it, we won't see the results of it for a couple of years.
That would be, some sort of. But
sorry, you were saying it's not about the tech. How's the tech going to do this? How's the tech going to do that? It's the same thing with the data. Like, you could have all the best data in the world compiled by all the best data engineers and all the best data scientists, but it's what does it mean?
Exactly.
How are you going to use that data? What does it mean? And what's its purpose? Like,
how could you aggregate that data in specific industries, like when it comes to health, and be able to add in that somehow pull out that proprietary data from all these hospitals and see what those trends are to increase more health opportunities for clients and patients? I think that would be an interesting premise.
Yeah. What is the data going to do?
Yeah.
What is the tech going to do? How does the tech, Cuba Gooding Jr. said in the movie, I really loved it. Jerry Maguire, show me the money. Show me the money. But that's the thing with the tech. You got to show the company the money. Why would they buy your billion-dollar solution if you can't show them the money anyway? And that's the key. I mean, look, I've got an OpenStack cloud running in my house because it's cool. I mean, it's cool, so I'm doing it. But I'm in my room right now, and I'm on a 64-core Threadripper system with a 0.5 terabyte of RAM and a Quadro data center card with a 6K video camera, studio lighting, and speakers that you can't even imagine how complicated they were, because I wanted to be able to listen to reggae while I was in my office all day long. And it's reggae that's Bob Marley that can't benefit from these speakers. I like tech because it's cool. But, the reality is businesses don't buy tech because it's cool. If I try to tell my wife, dear, look, we're going to buy this new computer. Its GPU can do 50 teraflops a second with the multiple RTX 3090. She's going to laugh at me and say, yeah, why are you spending $10,000 on GPUs, dear? And I'm going to say, well, I'm going to use these $10,000 worth of GPUs to make better business decisions. And she's like, is that going to make more money? Oh, yeah. She's interested. Now, if I were to say that it's really cool, and you can play video games with my 4 NVIDIA RTX 3090s. And she says, but you don't play video games, dear. And I'd say, but, we can use it to watch movies on Amazon. And she's going to say, do we need that to watch movies? I'm going to say, no. She's going to say, dear, I don't think that's a good investment.
But you can use it to do data science. Sorry. That's
But yeah, now hey,
data
there.
scientists buy up gaming computers before gamers can.
Yeah, I hired a data scientist, and this data scientist has an MBA, understands business operations, and not only can train a model with this, can help us make money here, here, and here. She'd be like, yeah, get 60 of them. It wouldn't be get 4 of them, it would be get 60 of them.
Definitely another tie into how you, whether it's your wife or whether it's the CEO of the business, the boss is the boss, and being able to communicate that transformation.
There's always the boss, and everyone else has one. For many of us, it's our wives, whether we choose to admit it or not. I'm not embarrassed to admit it or ashamed to admit it.
No.
She's the boss.
The wise man knows.
I also realized that my cat Cindy is probably the boss of me too. She literally, when she wants something, she either rubs up against me and walks me to whatever she wants, so there'll be here tuna at the door, or if that doesn't work, she meows until I get what she wants. She is a servant, and I'm totally somehow fell into that job.
Yeah, I believe all the husbands are low men on a totem pole.
You know, there's a saying that dogs have masters and cats have servants, right?
My cat has a servant.
Yeah, that's how this goes.
And when my brother came to visit, who stays up later than me, the cat would run up to him, meow, 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 go to the door, and then bring in another lizard or a snake or a frog. And then my brother would be, oh God, and carry it out just like I do.
Yeah. So let's circle back to the specific, like the actual jobs that were. So I want to break this down into a couple of categories. Let's do I think 5 is a nice number. Let's do a top 5, but I got a couple of different categories that I want to do top 5s for. Okay. What do you guys say? You like that idea?
Yeah.
This is on the fly. This time I know you were not prepared for this, so I'm just gonna throw it out there. Oh, Dustin's cat apparently made an appearance in the engineering class today. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that recording.
Oh, I have to see that too. Anytime there's a cat there, I'm happy.
Give us an approximate timestamp of when that happened in the class, so that Mike and I can go check that out. Look at your cat. Yeah. We love cats interrupting classes. They're not interrupting. They're making their appearance. Excuse me.
Chal said it was a beautiful cat. Abigail's cat often makes an appearance. Who's beautiful. Her cat Noni. Yep.
So, all right, let's do this. Let me look at. I know what we talked about. So we've got most lucrative. We've got hottest. Let's go with some specific things. What do you think from a hiring and open opportunity standpoint are going to be the hottest tech jobs in the near future? We don't want to go long term like my discussion about data, because that's a few years down the road trying to figure out what data looks like. So let's do short to midterm. What do we think the hottest tech jobs are as far as openings and possibilities and things like that?
Short term, I think it's the cloud architect, specifically those the way we train them to be more on that enterprise architecture focus. Mm-hmm. But it's a cloud architect, but more on that businessy side than just the techie side. Yeah. And the reason is everything's going to the cloud, and very few people know how to design an end-to-end solution that improves business performance. So to me, that cloud architect or enterprise architect is my number 1. Number 2 is probably the cloud engineer. And that's why we built that as a second program. Because as most people know, we only focus on the most critical, highest performance, highest paying, elite year jobs that go cloud careers. And we do this for the following reason. We only focus on the top end. Yeah. That's our niche market. I do the top end because I love getting people to pay $700 or $800 for a class, and they get a $200,000 a year job, and their life has been changed forever. So the cloud architect,
the top end, and what we actually know.
And what we
know, we're not going to try and train you on something we don't know.
No, we wouldn't do it
like some others out there. So.
And my third job, which is my favorite, is something we don't teach because we don't know it well enough. So cloud architect, number 1, cloud engineer, number 2, DevOps engineer. I got to tell you, this is a really great place for the future.
Yeah.
DevOps engineers are going to be removing all the sysadmin work. I mean, so much of it, all those cloud admins. The DevOps engineer is a great career. For people that are software developers or want to be, and then after that want to do DevOps, we love it. It's just that I'm not a software developer. And I'm not going to be like those certification providers that are going to do a DevOps certification and say, here, I got a DevOps course for you. It's not fair. We got lots of competitors that like to do it. Here's how you can tell if someone's trying to hurt you. Here, I got a bundle. It's got a cloud practitioner, a SysOps, a DevOps, a cloud developer, and oh, by the way, I want to sell it to you all. Why do I say they're hurting you? Well, the opportunity cost of your time, for one thing. While you waste your time getting 5 useless certifications that are part of different people's careers, nobody's going to hire you, for one thing.
Yeah.
Because you won't have any knowledge in the career you actually want. So you'll waste a year and a half of your time where you could be earning $150,000, $200,000 a year. So anybody that's got a course bundle is just trying to sell you, and they don't care at all about your career. So we can't teach DevOps because I'm not a DevOps engineer. Chris is not a DevOps engineer. Elonzo is not a DevOps engineer. Amram, my team, is not a DevOps engineer. Chal's not a DevOps engineer. And Leo is an incredible technologist, but he's not a DevOps engineer. And I won't teach anything where we can't be sure that our students get hired in the end because they receive the best training. So cloud architect, enterprise architect, my favorite. Cloud engineer second. DevOps engineer third. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I will list networking and security professionals as the next fourth. Actually, fourth and fifth for right now. I'd say networking first and then security next. But when we figure out what to do with data,
that's what I wanted to add in my list as well. Yeah.
That's why I said short to midterm, because it's like kind of it's in that awkward stage. It's like a tween.
It is.
You know, they're 12, 13, 14. They're in that awkward.
Yep. Yeah, we're in the teenager phase with data. Yeah. We haven't quite figured it out. We know it's valuable, but like nobody's really capitalized on it yet.
Yeah.
And when that happens, I think we're going to have the architect, which is going to be the business executive that knows what to design and how to communicate it. And then we're going to have something which is more of an engineer. I don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
More of a data scientist in some way, shape, or form in my mind. Someone that can understand the problem, write up a good algorithm to go solve the problem, but also be able to take these algorithms and create machine learning models. And also I see them as the machine learning engineers of the future. You can't just learn machine learning on itself. What good is it? It's good in context of something else.
Right.
Yeah. It creates a kind of workflow, if you will. You have, like you said, you have your architect, potentially you have your data scientist, you have your DevOps engineer, and possibly the cloud engineer or something to that effect, and being able to create some sort of workflow process where you're able to process this stuff and build it effectively for an organization. That's going to be a real powerful mechanism.
Yes.
It is.
And I also think for people that don't get on board with developing the soft skills, the communication skills, the executive presence, the leadership, I think their jobs are going to be relegated to the bottom. So when you call to get a new T1 line, well, not T1, I'm dating myself, or an ISDN line, or a frame relay circuit, or an Ethernet over MPLS server, you call somebody at the phone company. They punch a few buttons and automatically it's set up for you. That person is not a highly paid executive. That's what I see coming out of like the AWS video games that they're creating.
Oh yeah. If interesting point you made there. Anything that can be turned into a video game. I mean, it's a great way to learn, but it's concerning that my job can be turned into a video game.
And not only should be concerning, but their goal is as follows.
Yeah.
Alonzo, you go first, and then I'll.
Okay. I just wanted to chime in. My daughter, she loves this thing called The Sims. And it's just this. Yeah. You think about the aggregate amount of data that it needs to power these. I don't even really get it, but it's kind of like a simulation of living life, interacting with people in this world. And you have all these skins, what they call like where you can change the anatomical look, clothing, fashion, personality of these people, and the code that goes with it, how it interacts with the world. how you're able to change, adjust according to what this world commands. And you think about like all the data that goes into that. How is it grouped? How are they using it to further other video games? Is it involved with AI? And if that's so, how does that all interact with the data science that goes with it? And I you know, when I started with Go Cloud, it changes the way you think. It's less about a video game and more about the intricacies of what it took to build that. And you start thinking along those lines about, okay, where is it going to go in the future, and how is that going to change? Like you said with Chris, you know, is this life imitating art, or what is this, and how is it going to change?
Exactly.
It's something that I think about.
And when I see video games, to me, that's the cloud providers trying to lower everybody's salary.
Yeah.
Here, I'll just teach you the tech. You won't now understand how it works. And if you look at certification, no, they don't teach you the underlying tech or how it works intentionally. Intentionally. They're trying to turn you into a junior level technician. And that's what the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional is. It's junior level, entry level technician training. It's not architect work. It's not engineering. It's junior level, entry level tech work.
Yeah. So I know my lag is back, but I'd like to do one more top 5, and
then we'll get to the questions, because I see a lot of questions piling in.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So thank you.
And I'll answer a lot of questions, but I'm going to order Uber Eats tonight because it was a long day. Well, because it takes an hour for me to get anything.
Yeah. So the last top 5 that I want from you, and it might look exactly the same, is what do you see being the highest paying tech jobs in the future?
It's always going to be the architects at the top end. So my enterprise architects / cloud architects at the highest end. And then I think it's going to be your cloud network engineers and architects, and then your cloud security engineers and architects. The reason I don't see the DevOps in the top 10 in terms of high pay and cloud engineering in the top 10 in terms of high pay, even though the cloud engineering salaries will be good, I expect those positions to be outsourced to other countries with where the people have very good motivation, very good capabilities, but will work for a lower salary.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It used to be, I remember with software development, you know, we'd pay $80 an hour in America for a decent developer and $15 an hour in India for a better developer. So, you know, cloud engineering, it doesn't matter where in the world you are. And obviously sales always can pay pretty high end, but for any of these tech positions. But you know, most people, but that's a very specialty sales role, and they're at that point, they're not even tech jobs, they're more business jobs. But yes, lots of outsourcing, and you've got lots of companies that are ripe to outsource right now with incredibly good people. You've got the Eastern Bloc countries right now where a lot of outsourcing is done. You've got India and Pakistan, great places to outsource. You've got all over Asia, and wow, Africa. Africa's got a relatively good educational system, and a lot of education is going into Africa. We do a lot of work in Africa. 50 people of our team are part of the Cloud Heroes Africa volunteer mission we have going on there. Amazon spending money in Africa, educating people. I think we're going to see a lot of tech jobs in Africa in the future. I know we're starting to hire there with incredible results, but I see a lot more jobs in there in the future. Philippines as well. Any place where you've got good language, good education, and people that are motivated to work, you're going to see people hired in those places.
Very true.
The tight labor market, the great resignation. You know, there's right now recruiters are saying people are ghosting us. They're saying, I'm not working unless you pay me this, and I want unlimited time off, and I wanted this. Okay, I got to tell you right now, there's billions of people that would die to get one of those jobs.
Get a fraction of that. They just and I wouldn't necessarily call it desperation, but when your options are limited is when you get more creative, because you want to maximize these opportunities as much as possible versus having everything handed to you. You're content. I don't have to do anything, you know, and you lose your edge of competition, growth, that exterior, you know, that interior fire in the gut to be more than what you want to be, that desire to push yourself. It's on decline.
It kind of goes to this paper that was at Bear Stearns and IBM. And let's get to questions after this. And I hate using acronyms, but they wrote a paper of why they wanted to hire PhDs over MBAs. A PhD was a poor smart with a deep desire to be rich versus an MBA. And the point was they wanted people that were motivated, that were tired of being tired and working 3 jobs to get by. They were tired of being poor. They were smart, and they were going to do anything it took legally, ethically, and morally to rise to the top. And there's a lot of cultures that hired that. It's the culture of Pepsi hiring athletes, IBM hiring competitive athletes. Why do companies hire athletes? Competitors. They want people that'll fight to win. They want people that know there's no such thing as a participation trophy. They want gladiators that are going to fight for their organization. I know I sure do. I know I worked in those companies. And why do I like those companies? There's 2 kinds of companies. There's company A. Mike, you did a good job. You are average rating. You're a C. Thank you for your service. Here's your $500 raise. And then there's another company. Michael, wow. Thank you for what you did this year. Our expectations of you were this. You delivered this. Here's a $100,000 stock grant. Here's a raise and a promotion. Where do you work? If you're unmotivated, you work at the first company where everybody gets a C and the same bonus. Those companies die. If you're motivated, you work at those companies that reward the highest people, that do the most. They look different. They run lean and mean. And those companies are profitable. I don't really care. We all have to fit in the culture that works best for us. There's no right or wrong in anything. We have to be happy. There's no predefined job. There's no predefined you have to do this. There's no you got to do this job before you get this job. None of it. Mm-hmm. It's all about being great at what you do, loving what you do, and being happy. Now, I saw there were 1,000,001 questions that popped in there. Jay Don, Mike, we all love you so much. Thank you so much. Please help me understand the difference between these 3 terms: distinguished, enterprise, and architect. Well, I'm going to draw out the enterprise first. The enterprise architect is a business executive. Now, the reality is all architects are business executives, but when you meet an enterprise architect, they're going to be a techie lightweight to you. You're going to ask them a question, and they're going to be talking about some system bus, and Chris, you're in and out of all kinds of color. Now you're better. You were flashing like Casper the Friendly Ghost before. Anything. So, but the enterprise architect is pure business executive. So I like to live at the enterprise architect world. I go meet with the customer. I go talk to their CEO. I go spend a fortune buying everybody lunches and dinners and drinks to get to know them. I'd play golf with them, but I hate golf. But I'll go sailing with them instead. You know, I get to know somebody. I'll go to the people's weddings of their kids, their bar bat mitzvahs, their christenings. And I develop a deep relationship with that customer. That's your enterprise architect. The enterprise architect knows that customer, knows their business's pain points, knows their goals, and crafts a very big end-to-end robust security solution, just like a management or strategy consultant. Now, the cloud architect does the same thing, Jay Don. And that's why a lot of my cloud architects that go through my program are actually getting enterprise architects jobs as well, because we are biased on the enterprise architecture side. I do it, admittedly, we bias the business side, and here's the reason. It's a rare skill set to find, and our students get much higher pay than the average architects because we're biased towards the enterprise architecture side. So an enterprise architect is really a business executive that focuses on the end-to-end solution. Now, distinguished in principle, what's this? So typically speaking, we start off as a cloud architect or solution architect, then we become a senior architect. And then, depending upon the company you work for, you either become a principal architect or a distinguished architect. In some companies, they have both. In some companies, the principal architects are the highest, and most companies, the distinguished architects are the highest. So what is a distinguished architect? an architect that's really good, that's got better business skills, better leadership skills, better relationships, more chief information officer, CTO, CXO relevant, CEO relevant, so to speak, and a Rolodex. Now I'm getting something really old, but a contact list of people all over the world. That's your distinguished architect with the best presentation skills. They're the people that you call, like, here, let's say I'm the enterprise architect. I'm responsible for the network, for the architecture for a big bank. Now, all of a sudden, I need some really smart architect. I'm going to call my buddy who's a distinguished cloud security architect, my other buddy who's a distinguished network architect, another buddy who's a distinguished cloud architect, and they're together going to go wow my customers. They're going to have a meeting with the customer together, and they're going to see what a team that I have and say, wow, yes, I believe in you, but you have to sell me, Mike. Good question, Jay. We love you too, by the way. Thank you for being here.
We appreciate you, definitely.
Yeah.
Chindu, do you need to be good at ethical hacking or penetration testing to develop a career in cloud security? No, because, you could be a cloud security architect. We design, present, and sell. We don't do tech. We never touch it. So Chindu, it depends on the job you want. Architect roles aren't hands-on at all. We never touch the tech, ever. So if you've got an architecture desire, that's fine. Then you don't need to worry about it. Now, you do need to know what these penetration testers do. It would be good if you knew they use Kali Linux or other tools, but Chindu, as an architect, you're going to hire the penetration testers to go do the breaking in, to tell you what's wrong, so then you know what to do. So there's that. So now, if you wanted to be a defensive security engineer, again, you're going to be configuring firewalls. You're not going to be penetration testing or breaking into your systems. Now, if you wanted a job as an ethical hacker, Chindu, then yes, you need to be good at penetration testing. So that's what people really don't get, is these jobs are clearly defined. There's the offensive security people that break in. There's the defensive security people like me that protect. Totally different skill set. And then there's the architects like me, which ask the customers about their business. And Chindu, a cloud security architect, would be asking the customer, tell me about your business. Okay, and the cloud security architect would say, could you tell me what you're trying to protect? What's the value of the assets you're protecting? Oh, we're protecting our intellectual property. What's your intellectual property worth? About $6 billion. Okay. Now, when you know you've got a $6 billion intellectual property problem, you got to figure out, how do you protect that? Do you need Navy SEALs or a retired Navy SEALs or Israeli commandos or SAS commandos as armed security on the edge of your data center? You might. Do you need security cameras? Do you need a security policy? What's in the security policy? What do your users need to be trained with? What are your demilitarized zones going to look like? Your firewall strategy, your IDS, IPS system strategy? That's the architecture piece. Build the blueprint and then hand it off to the cloud security engineers to build it, or hire some penetration testers to tell you what's broken so you know how to fix it. But no, that's not part of your job, especially Chindu, you're an architect student, so I know that for a fact. Robert Welch, should you understand TCP and UDP 100%? There's no way you can get any of these good jobs without it. I don't know what is QUIC, though. Elizabeth, you're so happy to catch us live. I'm so happy you're here as well.
Woo! Finally, she caught us live. I don't know how long she's been trying, but
and you're over there in Nairobi, Kenya. Wow!
Congratulations!
You got your solutions architect badge from AWS this week, and your bootcamp helped. And Elizabeth, I'm so happy and congratulations. I'm so thankful for you're here. Thank you for these chats. Thank you for participating from Nairobi. I feel so honored getting people to come from Nairobi or Cameroon or Cape Town. We've had people coming in from Ethiopia, Tanzania, and I love that. So Elizabeth, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. I'm so excited for you. Please keep coming around. We want to help you as much as we can. And again, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. Victor, hey, Mike, give you a detail of the enterprise architect and can Go Cloud Architects program be used? Well, So far this year, 3 people have taken my cloud architect career development program and gotten hired as enterprise architects. So the answer is yes. Now, the cloud architect or the solution architect, we can make that your first job. We're pretty good at it, and we do it all the time. Enterprise architect jobs, that's going to be a tougher sell. So, if you've taken our program and you work as a cloud architect for a year or 2, you'll have all the enterprise architect skills. If you've been working in tech for a little while, and we turn you into a cloud architect, then yeah, there's a good chance you can get an enterprise architect job straight out of our program. But if you've never worked in tech before, the solution architect job or cloud architect, we can make that as a first tech job, but not an enterprise architect job. You need to have a couple of years as an architect first. Because the enterprise architect is VP level or director level in most companies. Win. Hi, Mike. Should I choose a specific field to be specialized? Networking security if you want to be an enterprise architect or business architect? Okay, Win. So there's 2 things. A business architect is a management consultant. There's generally no technology. But the business architect is the same job as the cloud architect. It's just different. And I've worked as a business architect. Here's a business architect or a management consultant. Mr. CEO, tell me your business problems. Okay, fine. And then after that, I go interview department heads, for example. And then I go walk the floors. And I evaluate the people, the processes, and technology in the business. I then determine what would be the optimal end state for the business. And I create a business architecture, which changes workflows, employees, processes, and to some degree technology. Like Michael Porter used to say from Harvard, people, processes, and technologies. That's your business architect. By comparison, your enterprise architect focuses on the technology and the business. So it's much more like the cloud architect. Mr. CEO, Mrs. CEO, tell me about your business goals, your business pain points. Interview those same department heads, interview those same employees, baseline their technology, and create an end-to-end technology solution. What routers, what switches, what firewalls, what databases, etc. So that kind of thing. Good question, though. I'm Pete saying, please advise the career path on a mechanical engineer wanting to switch to a career in the cloud. Okay, so Singh, I want you to understand this. There's millions of careers in the cloud. So, are you a mechanical engineer working on a bridge? Are you a mechanical engineer designing airplanes? Are you a mechanical engineer designing cars? Different training required for all these. I need to know which cloud career you like. Cloud architect's training is different than a cloud engineer's training, which is different than a sysops, such as maintenance person's training, which is different than a cloud developer's, which is different than a cloud database, which is different than a cloud data person. If you tell me the career that you would like, I can help you get there. Unfortunately, without that, you're basically saying, Mike, I'm at London Heathrow Airport. Which airplane should I get on? And I'm going to say, do you want to go to Delhi? Do you want to go to Bangalore? Do you want to go to Cameroon? Do you want to go to Cambodia? Do you want to go to Chicago? Clearly, I was watching some Sesame Street and there was Cookie Monster, so I'm alliterating with C. But, I do like the Cookie Monster. But that's really the key. I need to know your job. And if I don't know your job, I don't know where you're going, so I can't advise you.
Sorry, random thing. I'm about to go out of order on the questions here, but before I do that, I just have to ask you guys about Waze, the map app.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you use it much, Elonzo, but you can download or upgrade or get different voices for your navigation. There's a Cookie Monster.
Oh,
navigation.
God, no. I haven't.
If there's a Cookie Monster application, I need it.
Yes.
I don't eat cookies, but I always love the Cookie Monster.
Oh, it's so funny. He'll say things like, in a quarter of a mile, take a right to your cookie. I'm like,
I have to do that.
I want my cookie. But
I have a little sister, and I used to read her this poem. C is for cookies, me crunch them a bunch, me eat them for dinner and breakfast and lunch. And then there are crumbs. I could go on, but I read it to her about 10,000 times. And after reading that, then I just became a Cookie Monster fan because it made her smile.
Yeah.
Actually,
so
we have a bunch of people asking the question on I want to be a cloud architect. Right?
Yeah. So I'm putting a specific question up for you.
John Mervin. Yeah, this is a good question. Thanks for putting in. I'm not good at anything. Can I be a cloud architect? You can be whatever you want. There's no such thing as I'm not good at anything. You're not good at the things that you're not passionate about. You can be great at anything you want, but you have to work for it. You have to fight for it. So I'm going to tell you right now, I was not born knowing how to practice medicine. Not at all. Not at all. So I had to learn it, right? And you know what? When I was in school and they first taught me something, I was terrible at it. And then one day I was great at it. And then I went into networking. Okay, that one was easy for me because I loved it so much. I read 1,000 pages a day, every day for 6 months. And I am not joking. I also rented a rack, which cost me $200 a day every Saturday and Sunday for 6 months straight to be able to learn it. And then spent the next 25 years mastering that thing. John, you can be great at anything. You just have to love it and focus on it. We're not good at things that we don't like. I don't know how to use a screwdriver. I mean, it's hilarious. Every time I try to use a hammer, my wife says another $5,000 expense. And I say, what do you mean? I'm going to go hang up a picture. And then I go through the wall and puncture a pipe. And then not only do I have a plumber, I need new carpets and a new ceiling. I'm not joking. Every time I try to use a screwdriver, it's another $5,000. I'm not even allowed to. Because that's not my app.
Bob Vila for you, huh, Mike?
No Bob Vila for me. I mean, I wish I could. When Chris is here, I'm like, do you know how to use this screwdriver thing? And he's like, yes, I do. I'm like, good, thank God you're here.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
And not because I wanted Chris to be my screwdriver guy. I was just totally desperate. So, John, you can be anything you want, but you got to want it bad enough and work hard enough to get there.
I agree. So before we move to the next question, I just want to put this to everybody so that they can see who the real Cookie Monster is. That's me stealing the Cookie Monster's cookie.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So,
where'd you take this at, Chris?
So SeaWorld and Busch Gardens have like the licensing agreement for Sesame Street and theme parks. So they have a literal Sesame Street in SeaWorld and Busch, like the actual street, the whole street from the show is constructed. But you got Cookie Monster standing next to a lamp eating his cookie here. And my wife and I went, and I was like, I got to take this opportunity. I can't pass up the opportunity to steal the Cookie Monster's cookie.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so I wanted to throw that in there since we were talking about Cookie Monster.
Yet another reason to move to Florida.
Yeah, exactly, Elonzo. Just another reason. I mean, So we got a question.
I'm sold, dude. I'm sold. What is the growth potential? Oh man, this is a good one.
What is the growth potential of the cloud security architect? Bigger than you can possibly dream and imagine about. Huge. The architect roles are so big, and they are so critical, and there is such a shortage of it. What is there not a shortage of? I'm going to tell you right now, people that have 10 AWS certifications and don't know anything. There is a massive shortage of people that are actually qualified. And the more stuff that goes online, the bigger the security holes. So huge potential, Yannon. Huge potential. I highly recommend it to anybody. And like Delray Bat, one of my students, I just got him recently a cloud security architect job. You can watch his video. He didn't apply for it. He has no cloud certifications whatsoever, but we trained him. And he turned down 3 of the other cloud security architect jobs that he actually received to find the best one that he wanted, the CDW. So it is a huge career. And now that he has one, he's like, Mike, I'm still getting offers. And I'm like, they're bigger offers. I'm like, yeah, but Delray. And he's very excited. He loves where he's at. He just thinks it's hilarious that he's now getting offers that are now talking about salary. By the way, everyone, go to an interview before you worry about the salary. Don't ask the salary ahead of time.
Oh, yeah.
If they like you, they can pay you an additional $100,000 above what the actual salary is in most cases, or give you a new title or something. Yeah. When you pin somebody down to a salary ahead of time, that's it. You're done.
Yep. Yeah. If you ask about the salary before you do the interview,
they won't even get the interview.
You're not going to get the offer.
No. Right off the rip, they're going to think you're in for the money, not for providing solutions.
Yep.
Okay. So make sure that showcase what you can do. This is all about negotiation. This is all about sharing what you know, creating and sharing that valuation of what you, not what you can offer to the company. Show your value in what they stand to lose in opportunity costs if they don't choose you. That's the name of the game, not going in there talking about work-life balance, talking about how much can I get, and it's like when you negotiate in a position of not having any power, you're going to lose every time.
Okay, how do you get an internship work as a cloud architect? I hate answering this, but it's the reality. You can. And that's why we created our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. And how do you get work experience? It's your first job. Like, for example, for my students, they graduate, and graduation means they're working somewhere. Delray is now working somewhere. Daniel Boso, who didn't even finish high school, is now working as a cloud architect with no experience. Coyote is working as a cloud architect with no experience. Romanik Ivan Tamba is working as a cloud architect with no experience. Jeffrey, who was my student, who was doing some kind of weird oil imaging, is now working as a cloud architect. He had no experience either. This can be your first job. The key is you have to be trained properly for it, and that's why we have the Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Here's why. So as a cloud architect, you're going to be meeting with the CEO of a company, meaning you can destroy or build a relationship in seconds by saying the wrong thing. Nobody's going to put you in front of a CEO until they know you've got the capabilities to do the job. Secondly, if you make a mistake in a design, you can bankrupt the company and destroy the organization. So again, there is no kind of internship work for the most as a cloud architect. That's why we created the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, because our students literally do an internship doing cloud architect work in our program until they're done. And that way they've got about 8 months to or so of work experience before they get hired. And that's why my students are getting hired, because they're doing real cloud architecture work in every class. What is the first thing you need to do to land a job without experience? It's based upon a couple of things. Nobody really cares about experience. What they care about is, can you do the job? I know doctors that were killing people the day they graduated medical school, and 50 years later, they're still assassins. They're not doctors, they're assassins. Somebody goes to them and they die. And I know people in med school that were so good that they were healing people even then. Competency is what matters. Can you do the job? Not can you tell me can you do the job? Can you do the job?
Yeah.
I
think we talked about this one earlier before we say, because I followed it up with his I'm not good at anything. This was the same one. We did his questions back to back.
Yeah, so when it comes to getting your first job, it's really twofold. One is you must be confident beyond any shadow of a doubt. Must be. But that's not only half of it. 50% of an interview is how much we like you. What are your leadership skills, your communication skills, your soft skills, your executive presence, etc.? Now, nobody's born with these. Well, some people are, but most aren't. We have to train them in many people. So the key is being so good that they forget that you know, having the perfect attitude, the right energy, the right enthusiasm, showing you're a team player, showing you're willing to go above and beyond, but showing that you've got executive presence. Like, for example, hi, my name's Mike. I'm a cloud architect. I didn't get hired. They're not going to hire me for a second. But hi, my name's Mike. I'm a cloud architect, and I'm here to transform your business. That's executive presence. They're going to make you deliver a presentation on the interview. So you got to be able to deliver a killer presentation. That's why we teach presentation skills. They're going to make you sell to them on the interview. So you got to have good sales skills. So you're going to have to show CXO relevancy. They're going to ask you questions, and you need to be able to answer them. You can know the tech better than anybody else in the world, but if I ask you the tech and what I hear is blah, 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 I don't know if you know it. But if you can explain it to me in a manner that shows me you know it, I don't care that you have no experience. I hire people without experience all the time. My students with no experience are working at Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, Cisco, JP Morgan Chase, Capgemini, Bearing Point, and I think Deloitte. And there's other companies as well that are hiring my students with no experience. Some of them don't even graduate high school. Still work, but they can do the job. That's the key. They can do the job.
And also, John, make sure when you said, I'm not good at anything, let's rephrase how you think about yourself, saying, I have not yet had the opportunity to become a SME at anything. It starts with how you perceive yourself. It starts with how I'm not good in communication. Say that I have yet to have the opportunity to be effective in communication. You have to start thinking in terms of winning, start thinking in the terms of empowering yourself to be in a position where you can obtain these goals. So I want you to start changing how you communicate, change how you view yourself, and being able to start there. And you're going to see how the world really turns into a more positive environment when you start thinking that you can not only survive, but win in any situation that you put yourself through.
And we're not all born communicators. I was the most clumsy, nerdy person you'd ever meet in your life. I remember trying to ask a girl on a date, hi, and then throwing up because I was too scared to do it. And I'm not joking. And I remember, saying things that were ridiculous just because I was too nerd. But I got training for it, a lot of it.
I'm about to hijack this again. Sorry, Chow. Sorry, a dangerous one just came in from Obi.
Obi, here's the key.
What are some keywords to add to your resume?
So, Obi, what's the goal? I mean, I could give you keywords to get people to come to you. But if you're looking for keywords to add to your resume, it's because you don't know the industry well enough, which means you'll get interviews and then you're not going to get hired. Not only will you not get hired, you're going to burn every bridge you have by going on interviews until you're not ready to get hired. Your resume needs to show that you are ready for the job. We don't have keyword sections on an architect resume at all. The things that we described that in our work actually includes the keywords for people to see. But no, this is not, and I don't know which career you're looking for, but it's not about throwing keywords on your resume.
Well, that's for any career. That's for any career. Keywords.
Yeah, it's about being able to do the job better than anybody else.
Yeah. He's wanting to ask about keywords so he can pass the applicant tracking system, when that's not the way you should be going about trying to get a job.
Yeah. Our people don't apply for jobs as a rule. The recruiters literally hound them.
Yeah.
I got one person here. His name is Robert Welch. He's amazing.
Well, yeah.
He has 15, 20 people reaching out to him each day.
Yeah.
Delroy, who just recently took his job, he didn't apply for things. The people reached out to them. My students get bombarded with recruiters because they have a resume that's real. It's simple and plain language. It doesn't have keywords on it. It shows they can do the job, but not keywords. Keywords is like somebody wanted to pay me, and I said no to them. They wanted to pay me 21-hour sessions to do practice interviews with them so I could give them every possible question and answer they would ever be asked in an interview. And they wanted to write down my words and do it. And I said, thank you, that's a lot of money. But here's the big but. What if they ask you a question that's different than this? Well, I'll just buy more sessions. I don't care if it's $50,000. It's worth it to me. I said, but how are you going to do the job? I said, here are my trainings, $800, which is a lot less than the $20,000 or $30,000 that you're trying to pay me to cheat your way through the job. Take my course. That's going to take me time. And I said, well, I'm not right for you anyway, because you can't cheat your way to build a career. No. There you got Robert over there, and he's getting killed by recruiters.
Hey, Mike, did you ever order your food?
Let me go do that right now, and then I'll answer a bunch more questions.
Sorry.
Thank you.
So I'm going to do this while he's ordering. I'm going to do this. All right. So now that Elonzo and I have your undivided attention and Mike is not here, make sure you join us, Elonzo and I, on Monday next week. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Tune in for our normal Cloud Career Q&A session Monday afternoon, and we're going to have some fun. Also, make sure you tune in on Tuesday for next week's show of this Head in the Clouds.
That's a must.
Yeah. It is a must.
Yeah.
It's
Please,
a must.
You will not regret a single moment of that show. We are going to have, it's going to be unprecedented. It's going to be lots of fun. We're going to have a grand time. So please make it, put on your notifier and subscribe for this channel and join us on Tuesday, a week from today. So make sure you make it.
Yeah, that's all I gotta say. So we'll get back.
That's all
and if you've gotten an email from me, open it and do what it asks.
Quickly.
Okay. All right. So did you get your food ordered?
I did, and I was a wild man today. As everybody knows that I'm on the paleo diet, so I eat vegetables and lean meats, vegetables, etc., and fruit, and nothing else.
Yeah.
And nuts. I was a wild man. I ordered cheeseburgers without the bread today.
There you go.
So I'm actually gonna have some cheese.
Wait.
The paleo people that I blew my diet today.
Chris, Mike got took over by a pod person. Who is this dude?
Hey, I gotta say, I took him to dinner. Well, he took me to dinner. I took him to dinner. I don't know, but he ordered 2 burgers without a bun when I was with him.
Yeah.
So I'm not that surprised.
Mike, who are you? Who is this man?
There was some figs that he brought in a Ziploc bag and some Brussels sprouts that he ordered as well. And I'm over here with my fried this and fried that, and I'm explaining to him how football works. It was great.
It really was. It was very cool. I got to learn about football and what certain people in the sport. I didn't know there was a strategy or anything. It was really cool.
Oh yeah,
I love it. I love it.
All right, so let's get back to some of these questions. So got your food ordered. Let me guess, Miller's Ale House.
Yes, actually.
See, you didn't get that wild.
If I'm not cooking Greek or Jamaican food, it's going to be Miller's Ale House.
Yeah.
Or the Chinese.
Thank you, Chow. You beat me to it. I was trying to find it. So, Azar asks, please assist with clarification. Previously, I obtained some networking skills studying CCNA. After that, before jumping straight to the cloud, I got some classes for Linux, Red Hat certified architect, I believe. So my question is, may I start learning some AWS to become associate or at least support engineer cloud? Honestly, any kind of job in cloud. Mike.
So what you're telling me is you've got certifications. Here's my view of certifications. They're 100% worthless. Nobody hires you for having any certifications. They hire you for knowledge and the ability to do the job. So I'd suggest you find one job that you like. Stop getting certified, because apparently you've got a couple already, and master what is that job, whatever it is. If you want to do cloud support, do cloud support. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not going to be any quicker for you to get a cloud support job than it is a cloud engineer job or a cloud architect job. You can get them all in the same amount of time. So I'm going to ask you, what would you like to do? Tell me what you would like to do. And then I can tell you how to go from what you're at now to actually the job that you want. Every job takes as much time to get, because you need to know something for every single job. So the key is, which one do you want? But certifications in and of themselves, that's just certifications. Here's what a certification means. Here's the name of some service and how to configure it. Oh, architects need to design things. They can't use those stupid names, and they don't configure anything. Cloud engineers need to know how the systems work, which is not covered in certification. And those cloud engineers need to go build stuff. Again, not covered in certification. There's Python for cloud engineers, not architects. They design, present, and sell. Cloud engineers need to know Terraform. Cloud engineers are writing bash scripts. Cloud engineers are Linux people. So the job that you want is going to tell me what you need to do. But the certifications are only a piece. They're like the icing on the cake, but without the cake, it's nothing. When I speak to hiring managers, it's like, Mike, everyone wants to talk about their certifications. I don't give it. And then they use another word that I won't use about people's certifications. Can you just find me somebody that can do the job? And I say, yeah, I got all these people. And they're like, okay. And they hire my people. But they say, I don't want paper certifications. They say, I'm tired of it. All everyone wants to do is tell me about a certification. The more certifications they tell me, the less I think they actually know. In fact, if there's too many certifications, they won't even bring you in for an interview anymore.
It's been so damaging now. It's just like, for years, everyone's been more or less peddling certifications, and now they've created this expectation that the more certifications you have, the more you think you're going to be valuable, and it's quite the opposite now. It's really sad that they're still doing the same stuff, or in some cases I won't name any names, but certain people started off in a particular environment with certifications, and now they're trying to charge ridiculous salary opted payment plans or whatever to teach people technology that they themselves have never learned. They didn't initialize it or anything else. So it's a dangerous situation where people go in thinking that the certifications are the key to a successful career, when we've shown in a lot of different examples that it's your competency, not the certifications that will land you that job.
And in many cases, the wrong certifications hurt your ability to get interviewed. We have to remove those incorrect certifications.
Yeah.
Because they build the brand of somebody else. So Azar, tell us what you'd like to do. I know a bunch of people are going to say architect, so I'm sure we'll fill the architect question for a few minutes and I'll do them all at the same time because I know a lot of them. But tell us what you want to do, not what you're certified in. What you ate for dinner yesterday doesn't affect what you do tomorrow. In fact, yeah, it's pretty sad. Like Daniel Bosa was one of them. He paid $35,000 for some worthless certification boot camp. That was to help him level up and get ahead in his career. Now, he said, I'm certified, Mike. What can I do? And I interviewed him, and he knew nothing. And I love Daniel Bosa. I wish he was my own son. I like him so much. That's the kind of way I feel about him. We trained him. He is a hard worker with a good heart and an energy and enthusiasm and a mental toughness. His family's from Togo. Great guy. But now he's working as a cloud architect at a big bank because he had it here. He wanted to learn. But whatever he got, whatever the $35,000 nonsense boot camp. And then what's even worse, there's evil people out there that are charging $40,000 saying, here, pay us 10 and 15% of your salary for the next 2 years. We'll get to go for free. That's why we do what we do. I don't want anybody paying for that. I want everybody getting hired. John, can a career shifter land a job in cloud architecture because there are a lot of people who want to shift in the IT? Of course you can. So I had a psychologist that got hired last week. I had a waiter get hired by Amazon as a solution architect. I had a shoe salesman recently get hired by JP Morgan Chase. I had an EMT get hired by Computer Discount Warehouse, for example. And I mean, I could go on. I had a landscaper that just got hired by Microsoft as a solution architect. Or was it Capgemini or something? So yeah, of course you can. I used to practice medicine. That's the field I come from. My first job was a senior engineer, and I was a lead architect within 6 months, and that was before they even knew what architects were. Mindset and Bloom, thank you for such an insightful session. What are the soft skills needed to join whatever programs? Nothing. We're going to train you in soft skills. We're going to train you in soft skills. I know that I've spent, plus the companies have spent on me, more than $250,000 to learn soft skills and some of these leadership skills. I know the average person can't afford $250,000 for something like this. Now, these skills that we're talking about are expensive skills to learn. Go to a Daniel Goleman group for a week and it's $3,000, $4,000. That's why we took a course, and it's a $50,000 course that we charge a single day's pay for the average graduate because we want to help people. I don't need to work. Elonzo's here to help people. Chris is here to help people. Even before Chris joined me, he said, Mike, is your goal to sell this for billions of dollars like the other people, or is your goal to get people hired? I said to get people hired, and he said, good, I'm going to join you. I mean, that's the quality of people that I have in this company, people that care. So soft skills, we train them because you're going to have to be socially smart. You're going to have to know how to lead. You're going to have some great degree of empathy. You're going to have to know how to present. You're going to have to deal with difficult conversations. You're going to have to motivate people. These are just some of them. We teach all of them. These are learned skills. We're not born with them. We're not born knowing anything. A human baby will die within 48 hours or 72 hours if it's not taken care of by a parent. We have no instincts, everything we have to learn. Now, my cat Cindy, she was abandoned by her mother somehow, or her mother died. She managed to survive until she got rescued to a rescue center, and then I went to rescue her, although I think she rescued me. She's made my life so much better since I went to rescue the cat.
She put you to work. That's what she did.
She puts me to work, but I still think my life is so much better for having her.
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't want my cat.
I got a cat for my wife. I just felt
If you ask my wife, she will remind you that I said I did not want the cat. And so anytime I try to say my cat, she's like, nope, not yours. Cat alert. Yeah. Oh.
Daniel Meeper. What would be the path for a cybersecurity incident response engineer to become a cloud security architect? Daniel, the same what it would be for anybody to become a cloud security architect. See, here's the thing. Engineering is engineering. Engineering is building. Architecture has nothing to do with engineering whatsoever. Architecture, Daniel, go look at the sky tonight. Look at the giant sky and look at the sun, moon, and the stars. That's the sky. That's architect work. Engineering work is go zoom in on the moon and you can't see the rest of the sky. So what would the path be for a cybersecurity incident response? The same would it be for anybody. You would have to learn the network and the data center, and actually, Daniel Mitra, so Chris, let's answer everybody's how to become an architect job. And this is going to be if you've never worked in tech, or this is going to be if you're an engineer. It doesn't matter. It's a different job. So just because you're a flight attendant, Daniel, doesn't mean you have pilot skills. Just because somebody is a physical therapist doesn't mean they don't need training to go to a doctor. So they are going to need just as much training, Daniel, for an engineer to become an architect as somebody new. In fact, sometimes the hardest thing is to actually go from engineering to architecture because the job is so different. And as an engineer, we think like engineers. So keep that in the back of your mind. So to become an architect, the first thing that you need to know is know the network and the data center, which means BGP, ideally OSPF, IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, route summarization, route aggregation, NAT, one-to-one NAT, one-to-many NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT. WAN technologies, which include SSL-based VPNs, IPsec tunnels, private lines, Ethernet over MPLS, software-defined networking, and SASE. Switching concepts, which means VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree for the cloud architect, not the security architect, and Ether channel, port channel, link aggregation groups. ARP, proxy ARP, DNS, DHCP, a great knowledge of the TCP stack, critical for everybody. Now, for the cloud architect and to some degree the security architect, knowledge of virtualization, knowledge of containers and container orchestration, knowledge of storage, block storage, object storage, file storage, knowledge of the file storage protocols like NFS or service message block, knowledge of data centers, how to architect them and design them, knowledge of next generation firewalls, intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems, VPN concentrators, knowledge of identity and access management systems, etc., etc., etc. So those are the kind of things. Now, next, remember, if you're an engineer, or if you're not an engineer, but if you're an engineer, you're used to being hands-on techie, and architects don't touch the tech ever, you need to learn how to design, present, and sell, which is not engineers, it's not their skill set. It's a completely new skill set. So the next, for example, thing that we would need to do is, so then you're going to need to learn how to sell. You're going to have to learn how to do ROI modeling to show the customer the value of the solution is greater than its cost. You're going to need to train your CXO relevancy, so you need to know what to say to the CEO versus the CFO versus CTO versus the CIO, etc. You're going to need to train your business acumen, reading financial statements and balance sheets and any of these architect roles. You're going to need to be leading large teams of people, cloud engineers specifically, so you're going to need to master your leadership skills. You're going to need some exceptionally good emotional intelligence training for either one of these. You're going to be delivering presentations constantly, so you're going to need presentation training, which is why we have all this included. You're going to be negotiating deals, so you're going to need negotiation training. And you're going to be writing thought leadership documents. You're going to need some training on that. You're going to be entertaining clients. So the path of as an engineer to an architect is the same. The path of a newbie to an architect is the same. Here's the difference. The engineers often know how some of the tech works, but it's how to build the tech. The architects have to design it. Completely different job. So my engineers say, oh my God, I never thought it would be hard to go from engineer to architect. And I say, what's your biggest problem after they get hired? They're like, Mike, I just want to touch it. And every time I go to touch it or dive deep, I miss something. And I say, you can't fly the airplane and keep people in the seats at the same time. Mm-hmm. So whether you're an engineer or an architect, it's still the same thing. Now, that's what you need for the cloud architect, Daniel. For the cloud security architect, you better have some better knowledge on identity and access management platforms. For example, you're going to need to be an expert in next generation firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, VPN concentrators. The cloud security architect is going to need to be an expert on writing security policies. The cloud security architect is going to be determining what kind of education needs to be for the users, potentially dealing with security frameworks and the security side. And then I'll address Obi's question. Our graduates typically are in the range of $120,000 to $275,000 per year. Our new graduates are getting jobs on average between, I'd say, 120 and 175 for the majority of them. We've had a few statistical outliers that took jobs before they left our program, and that earned less than that. And we've seen some positions outside the U.S. that pay less than that. But all in all, we're dealing about 120 to about 275. This year, we've had graduates earning 275, and we've also had graduates earning, as little as 120. Classy, is there a way to get side projects for a solution architect waiting to a job? Absolutely not. What business would allow you into their business, invite you to talk to their CEO, and design a solution that could bankrupt them and put them out of business forever? So no, this is not a job where you can do side projects. That's why we created our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, to give people the real cloud architecture program that they could show they've done and have real work experience. But no, there's no way to go do side projects. Abby Cloud, you got certified with a cloud practitioner. Which job can you apply for? You just told me you've got a certification. I don't know what you know or don't know. Just having the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional on its own is not enough to apply for any job. Now, if you're a sales professional and you've got good sales skills and you've got a cloud practitioner, then wow, you could be a cloud security person. I've gotten people cloud architect jobs with 0 certifications because they were expert architects. So if you happen to be an expert architect, it doesn't matter that you've got the cloud certification. If you've got good coding skills, like in Python specifically, Linux skills, really strong Linux skills, Bash shell scripting skills, good Terraform skills, and knowledge of how this stuff works, you can get a cloud architect job with that a cloud engineer job with that certification. So the certification of itself is like saying, here, I bought paper towels from the store. What can I do with it? Well, I don't know. Do you want to mop a counter? Do you want to wipe off sweat off your face? I don't know. So I don't know what you actually know. That determines what you can do. But the certification of itself, none of them will ever result in a job, except for the Cisco Certified Internet Expert. And that's because you have to read about 75,000 pages to pass it. And there's not a lot of them because most people fail it. And it's like a $3,000 process to take the exam with an 80+% failure rate. So it costs you a lot of money in preparation, which keeps out a lot of people. And it's just too much work for most people to do because they'd rather do 5 or 10 simple certifications than one deep one, which is really what you need. So if you tell us what you want to do, we can tell you how to get there, though. Mike, what is my reaction when Broadcom acquires VMware? Well, I think it's pretty interesting. Broadcom makes some pretty good networking chips, which are used by everybody and some other tech. And VMware is truly the leader in actual, virtualization. They were the first to get really big in containers, etc. So kind of keep that in your mind. Now, having said all of this, I think VMware is kind of dying, a slow death. I love VMware. I use it extensively. But what is VMware doing? It's really the hypervisor that most businesses use to hyperconverge their data centers. Now, migrating to the cloud, AWS has their own hypervisors. Azure has their own hypervisors. And you don't have to pay for their hypervisors. So why would you pay expensive VMware licenses only to then re-rent the same systems in the cloud, where basically the virtualization is done for you for free in the cloud. So where I see VMware is, I got a VMware infrastructure in my data center. I can move it directly to the cloud, host it in a VMware cloud-based environment on AWS or Azure or somebody, and I don't have to learn anything new. It's pretty much the same. But I've got a lot of friends working at VMware, but I think sustainably moving forward, everybody's going to go to the cloud, which does all of VMware's job for it. So I think you've got two companies trying to merge to make each other stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. After learning the cloud certifications, what will help me propel your career as a cloud security architect? Well, like I said, you've got to learn the cloud.
I like how he phrased this. He's been listening.
Yeah. So after you get the cloud skills, and then you do the certifications, which you'll be able to do in a weekend after you have the cloud skills, because you'll see how nothing they are. You got to focus on your business acumen, your executive presence, your leadership skills, your sales skills, your emotional intelligence, your presentation skills, your writing skills. Those are the skills that are going to propel your career. I had a manager, and I was about 20 years ago, and I was kind of in between an engineer and an architect. I wasn't really sure what the heck I was. I had a title of an architect, but I was doing engineering. And my manager saw me fall asleep one day at work. And when he saw me fall asleep at work, he pulled me aside and he says, Mike, clearly this is not exciting to you. And he said, do you want to improve your career? And I said, yeah. And he says, do you know the difference between a $150,000 engineer and a $300,000 architect? This was 20 years ago. I was like, tell me. And he said, it's the impact you make on an organization. He said, stop doing certifications. He said, they're stupid. He said, they're not going to help you get ahead anymore. You already have a CCI. Stop. He said, your technical skills won't earn you any more money. Stop. He said, but it's the impact you make on your customer. Can you sell the customer? Can you lead a team? Can you show the customer impact their business because you've got enough business acumen? Are you CXO relevant? Can you present? Can you present at conferences? Are you a thought leader? Would you like training? And I was like, yeah. Well, anyway, a year later, I had the big job. So the way you get advantage is not by getting certifications. Not at all. You got to be able to do the job. And in this job, it's all about being able to influence people, being able to solve business problems. And I'm getting it from a business perspective. So look, 2 certifications, never more for any cloud anybody. Certified Solution Architect Professional, CISSP for Cloud Security Architect. But realize that's not going to teach you anything. The cloud knowledge that you'll gain first, that's the icing on the cake that makes you look good. But I see it every day. People that they apply for cloud architect jobs, and they've got the skills, but if they can't communicate it, they're not getting hired. I've been speaking to hiring managers recently that are saying, Mike, I'd rather somebody that I have to teach the tech to than one of these techies. I need someone that understands transformation in business. I'll train them if I need to. And I'm like, you don't need to train my people. And they interview them. They're like, wow, oh my God, where'd you find these people? I said, I trained them. But that's the key. It's not about, that's what you need to do. That's how you differentiate yourself. Become great at the business side of it. Can a lawyer become a data scientist and a cybersecurity expert? Okay, I'm going to ask you this question, Munir. Can you be a lawyer and a physician at the same time? No. And if you try to be, you'll be a horrible lawyer and a horrible physician, or you'll be a lawyer who's an expert on medical law. You can spend the rest of your life focusing on data science and be good at it. Or you can spend the rest of your life focusing on cybersecurity. But you can't go get a PhD in statistics and join the Navy SEALs at the same time. These are 2 very different careers.
Yeah, I'm curious as to how these would even, like, unless you're wanting to secure the data environment, which has nothing to do with data science.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
I think, you know what I'm thinking is that people are trying to combine 2 lucrative careers and try to maximize their financial
Yeah,
success.
but there's no, there's just
It doesn't work that way.
there is no correlation between these. Like
No.
I can see I could see being a aircraft mechanic and a pilot, possibly, maybe as a personal
You'll
choice.
see those two in the hangar working together, but a truck driver, a firefighter, and a airline steward.
These are two completely unrelated. Like there's no connect. There's no connectivity here. This is Venus and Mars. Like there's nothing there. The amount of brain hurt that you would incur just from the data science alone.
It's just
and then to try and also learn something else. It's like your left side and right side of your brain trying to compete. It's not possible. Sorry, I just had to chime in there from my.
I'm glad you did. You can only master one career in one career.
Yeah.
But you could do either one.
Either one, yes.
And be great at it.
You got to choose.
Yeah.
You have to choose.
All right. Stop us, Chow. Put the next one up. We'll keep going forever. Ooh.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So Abby asked to join the cloud platform. Do I have to be fluent English speaker if you are in an English speaking country?
Yeah. So Abby, I think we need to be careful here. As a rule, cloud architects are going to be doing in global business. So it really depends. So if you speak Mandarin, for example, and with your name Abby, I know you don't, you could probably work in China and get away with Mandarin because there's lots of business to be done. If you speak French, chances are you can probably get a good job anyway because there's a lot of French colonies, as well as France, which has got a lot of people, as well as Belgium. Mm-hmm. So there's that. If you speak fluent Spanish, you may get away with Spain and South America if you live there. But as a rule, speaking English is going to be an incredible strategic advantage because English is, and I don't speak English at home, I speak Greek at home, but English is the international language of business for the most part. And when you deal with the countries with the greatest GDP, for the most part, you're dealing with the US, the UK, Canada, those kind of countries. So they're the places which have a lot of the architecture. And, when I did business in Dubai, even, it was in English.
So there's two keywords in this question. Have to, or three keywords. Have to and fluent. I want you to elaborate a little bit more on those because I know you strongly believe we're not all perfect.
Yes.
And that's a big concern of a lot of non-native English speaking people is do I have to be fluent?
And let's go through that. If I've got someone from Philadelphia that can't put complete sentences together, that's a problem.
Right. Because they're from Philadelphia.
Because they're from Philadelphia. And if they've got bad language, it's a communications issue. I can't hire them. Now, having said that, if I've got somebody from the French side of Cameroon, or from Athens, Greece, or from Madrid, or from Romania, now all of a sudden, I've got someone here that's multilingual. And their English isn't perfect because it's not their primary language. Abby, I say to my wife, close the lights, or when I want to shut them off. Open the lights when I turn them on, because I don't think in English. I think in Greek. Oh, I just think in English too, but whatever. And the point is it's acceptable. If I use some funny terms, that's totally acceptable. But, if you were born in America and haven't grasped the English language, that's a problem. Mm-hmm. Because if you went to American schools and were born here, meaning if you can't put complete sentences together, people will worry about your intelligence.
Yep.
And your capabilities. And if you went to American schools and don't speak the language, were you a good student? Do you put effort into things? Those are going to be the concerns they have. But, I was speaking to some Israelis the other day and they said, my English isn't perfect. I said, are you kidding? Your English is so much better than my Hebrew.
Yeah. That was...
That's
the point that I wanted to hear from you is that because of today's world, we're every day in these roles, you're going to be speaking with people that don't speak your native language.
Yeah.
And are you're going to be the one that doesn't speak their native language.
Yeah.
And I am at a huge disadvantage. I only speak one language. So I am at when it comes to global work, I'm at a huge disadvantage. If I wanted to try and move to Europe and work full time in Europe, they'll pacify me because I'm English. I speak English, but they'll probably be looking for someone because Europe is a much more industrialized, and they know they can find native speaking German or native speaking French, native speaking Spanish. But
and people will tolerate it. For example, I had he was a Martin. I think it was Martin. He was the Albanian guy that I had, or I don't know.
No. Martin is the Dutch guy.
Yeah, Marvin. I'm trying to think. His name began with an M, and he's now working at Rackspace. And he was worried that his German wasn't great. No, he was from Macedonia. That's right. He was from Macedonia, not Albania, right, just north of Greece. And he was saying, like, look, and I said, no, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
How long can your course be taken with a full-time job? I've got a lot of people full-time. That's why I let my students stay in the program for up to a year until they get hired, up to a year, because, I don't care. As long as my students get hired, if you need to spend an extra 6 months in here, fine. Totally fine. Yasmin, you're super keen to do the cloud engineer program. How quickly can someone get through the content comfortably? And will there be any further discounts on the courses soon? So Yasmin, I'm going to give you a piece of business advice that will really change your life forever. And how long will it take you? Well, what I'll suggest is this. I'd say it'll probably take you, depending on your background, upwards of about 8 months to truly get through and be hired in the end. Now, as far as people that are worried about whether we go 5% or 10% cheaper one day on a sale, I want to make this abundantly clear to you. Cloud engineers on average earn $500 a day. If you wait 6 weeks for us to have a sale, you're losing $500 a day for 6 weeks straight. So that's $3,000 to try and save $100.
Mike, you just did that by days, 6 days. That's okay. $30,000.
$30,000 of lost income while you're trying to wait for us to potentially be $100 cheaper, potentially. So, unless you're in a country where it makes a big difference, I strongly advise you to take good care of your career.
Excuse me, 21,000.
21,000. Okay, but that's the point. Not getting to your goals is costing you a small fortune. So I'd rather you doing everything we do as an architect or as an engineer, we need a good return on capital investment. I'll tell you one thing. I'd rather have less cell phone service or less movies or one less dinner and get hired sooner and change my life and add maybe $100,000 a year to my career. Most of my students last year got a $100,000 raise or close to it from where they started. And my people that came in with $150,000 jobs got $275,000 jobs. If they had worried about an extra 10%, if and when it may occur, they would have lost those good opportunities. Any possibility to get remote cloud engineering jobs for Cameroonians? Absolutely yes. Well, first I'm going to tell you, I am really excited. We have a wonderful employee in Bamenda, Cameroon. His name is Eddie Kem. We love him. We love him. We love him. And who knows, maybe we'll hire more people in Africa in the future. We love him in Cameroon. Now, I was offered to go support a client in Japan as an architect. So the answer is yes, it's absolutely possible, especially in engineering roles, because the world is getting small. I don't care whether you're in Canada, Cameroon, Cambodia, Chicago, California, Charleston, or Cancun, or the Cayman Islands. Clearly, I like the word C today. It doesn't matter. Jerry, yes, you can have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful career in Cameroon, outside of Cameroon. Just be great at what you do. Patrick Laguna, oh my God, he's a wonderful student of ours. He's now at Cisco. You changed lives of many people on the Well Done Go Cloud. Thank you, Patrick. Patrick, it's been an honor to work with you. I know what you took your first job while you're there, but you're still part of our program. We absolutely love you, and thank you so much. And you're rocking it at Cisco, and we know how much I love that. I spent nearly a decade at Cisco. So congratulations on being at Cisco. You're amazing in many ways. So Ben, thanks. Is a job placement assistant? Our people get hired constantly. They have their biggest challenges, and Robert Welch can tell you, is dealing with all the people that are trying to hire them. And yes, there are times where I get calls from recruiters where if the person's really good, I submit them. I've done it plenty of times, and then it gets hired for the people that attend our live classes. But as a rule, it's not an issue. Our students get hired. We take the people that have taken all those ridiculous certification courses that taught them the name of the service and how to configure it, where one guy babbles about his cats all day long and nonsense that I can't even understand with his PowerPoint slides and pretty pictures that has no content and no substance. The other ones were equally worse, almost as bad, I should say. You know, I don't get it. So yeah, our students get hired because they have the right skills. There's no challenge in our people getting hired as long as they do the work. Now, people that buy my course and don't do the work, that's the saddest thing in the world. I'm giving people a $50,000 course for $800 because I want them to get hired.
And you're not able, and don't try to cherry pick what you feel you know or what you feel you've had exposure to, and pick it through the course so that you can get to the other side. You have to start from A to end up at Z to get the full experience and be able to understand that you're going to get the full competency of understanding about the cloud and the business aspects. So don't pick through it. Go through it video by video, assignment by assignment, get engaged, get involved, ask those questions, keep your camera on during Zoom calls if you can. And if you can't, just try to listen in. But overall, don't cheat yourself, because when you skim through it, you're cheating your overall potential of getting as much as you can out of the course and the competency. And along with the competency comes the compensation. So go through everything piece by piece.
While we're at it, Chris, I want you to go straight to this Jeremy Wright issue. I'm going to address that faster than you can possibly imagine. Understood, but it's a sales pitch. Look, Jeremy, I don't need a sales pitch. I don't need to sell anybody. They come to us. I created a course that's worth $50,000 and people offer me to pay it, and I charge a single day's pay on average because I want to help people. I don't need people to sign up. I don't need you to sign up if you don't want to be a student. I want to change people's lives. I did a business case, which is an ROI model, where I showed you that we just can raise somebody's salary by $21,000 by spending an extra $100. If you go to your stockbroker and say, here's $100 and you can give you $21,000, you'd be going to them all day long. I don't need sales, Jeremy. I get people hired every day. The world comes to me. I was on national TV last week. I've got a national TV interview this week. I was in 50 magazines for changing people's lives. It's not a sales pitch. So you want to work with us? Great. You don't want to work with us? Totally fine. But I'm here to change people's lives and make people's lives better. I don't need to sell anybody. I don't sell anybody anything. I created something to help people change lives. You can look at any of what my students said, and the biggest thing they said is after I got Cloud Hard is Mike changed my life. Mike changed my future. So I focus on business cases. I do the same thing for my customers. And let's move on to a real question, Chris. I understand people have financial concerns, and that's why we've taken a course that's worth $50,000 and charge what we do, which is pretty much our cost. King Leo, what are some of the books you would advise us to read before we actually get into the solution architect role fully? Oh my God. Well, if you were trained by us, you'd have it all in there. If you're not with us, well, I'd give you a couple books. I'd say Rerouting TCP/IP Volumes 1 and 2 from Jeff Doyle. I would tell you to read Internet Routing Architectures from Bassam Halabi. I would also tell you to read Stevens TCP/IP, even though it's an old book. I would then tell you to go to the VMware website and read all about virtualization. I would also go to the KVM and QEM website, read about 500 to 1,000 pages on virtualization. I would then tell you to go to the Docker page, the Kubernetes page, and the OpenShift page and read about 500 pages on containerization. I would then tell you to go to F5 and learn about load balancers, application load balancers, network load balancers, reverse proxies. Again, that's going to be a couple hundred pages. I would then tell you to go to Dell EMC and read a couple hundred pages on block storage, object storage, and file storage. Then I would tell you to go to the MySQL website and read about that database, the MariaDB website, go to that database, the Postgres website and go to that database, the Oracle website and read about that database, the Microsoft SQL Server and go to that database. I would tell you to do that and read all of those. Again, a couple thousand more pages and you're there, or you can take our course. When you are done, but no, the training is free. The books I've told you so far is about $275. From there, I would go to Cisco, Palo Alto, Checkpoint, all to read about next generation firewalls and VPN concentrators and IDS, IPS systems, etc. Then I would go learn about some zero trust from Zscaler. I think they've got some good papers on zero trust that's out there. I'd read about Active Directory. That's on the tech side. Then you need to read a couple of books on sales. You're going to need to read some economics books. You're going to need to read some finance books and books on financial monitoring. You're going to need about a dozen books on presentation skills, at least a dozen books on emotional intelligence, a few books on psychology and sociology, for example, because you're going to need to do that. I would read some books on executive training and executive presence, as well as something on writing for executives. Now, that book list is going to cost you more than my course. But if you're asking for books, they would be the books that I would recommend. That's a small fraction of what we do. If we're good at technical skills, can we be a data center technician? What technical skills? And are they the right technical skills for the data center? I mean, being good at a programmer doesn't make you good at a data center. Being good at networking makes you good in the data center. So what do you mean by technical skills? Obi, how do you prove to recruiters you can do the job? Do you help with resume writing? Okay, Obi, there's two things. Resume writing makes you look attractive to be interviewed. How do you prove? You don't have to prove anything to the recruiters. They put you in front of the hiring managers. They're the people that you have to help. So, Elonzo,
yes.
Ask me what is object storage. So, Obi, the first time I'm going to give you is an answer that's going to make them kick me out the door. And then I'll prove to you that I'm competent.
Hello, Mike. Thanks for joining us today. Could you explain what object storage is for us?
Yes, absolutely. I passed my AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. Object storage is AWS S3. You create a bucket and put your stuff there. That's the one where Elonzo says, come back when you have more experience. Now, Elonzo, now ask me about object storage.
Michael, thanks again for coming. Could you explain what object storage is in detail?
Absolutely, Elonzo. Object storage is a type of storage area network, which means it's network-based storage. So the speed performance limitations are going to be based upon network throughput. Now, object storage, being a storage area network, takes data and actually breaks it down into something called objects. Now, the objects are unique because each object actually has some metadata, which is a little data about the data. Now, because when the data becomes an object that has metadata, we can use it in a wide variety of cases, such as big data environments. We can search for parts of the data or query the data. Many object storage environments even allow us to run SQL queries on the data itself. Now, object storage is not traditional storage. It is not hierarchical. It's flat. It's very structured like a database, where the data is there and there's a pointer to the object. And because it's flat, it actually scales very well to the database type structure. Now, object storage cannot be mounted by normal systems. They are not traditional storage. Object storage can therefore be used for things that write once and read many times. And here's the reason object storage can't be used for normal storage environments. Object storage creates a new version every time anything is touched or modified by even 1/100th of a percent. Even 1/100th of a percent. So imagine a server which has got 2 terabytes of RAM, no big deal, and you've got a swap file that's 3 terabytes. If that changes 1,000 times a minute or 100,000 times a minute, which is pretty normal, you will have 100,000 3 terabyte objects. We can't use it for regular computer systems. That's why object storage is considered write once, read many times. Now, object storage is extremely good for backup and archival purposes, distributing software, static website hosting. Now, object storage has been used in the data center for approximately 30 years. It's widely used in the cloud computing environment. AWS has their brand of object storage called AWS S3. Google has their brand of object storage called Blob. And Azure has their brand of object storage. Azure has their brand of object storage called Blog. And Google has their brand of object storage called Cloud Storage. Now, Elonzo, am I competent now?
Extremely. You answered questions before I was even able to get to the next one. So, extremely competent.
So, Obi, it's about proving it. It's about showing that you are the go-to resource. You prove it by the way that you win your interview. There's no coding test for architects. Azer, hi Mike, I just watched your cloud architect, sysops, DevOps, which is best for me. What I can now say is you're interested in sysops. So do you have a studying program dedicated to sysops? Azer, I don't. I recommend people not do sysops careers for the following reasons. They're the lowest paying, they're the hardest to get out of, and they're the ones that I think that are going to get completely outsourced to other parts of the world. So I intentionally do not teach sysops. I've spent a career advising people not to do that because I hate to see somebody starting a job that pays a third of what they could, and it's going to take them years and years to get out of it. So we don't have a studying program dedicated to that. But if you wanted to become a sysops person, it's all about learning basic administration, basic Linux, basic scripting. But understand that it is going to be a very hard job to get out of, and there's extremely limited career potential. There's almost no upside to it. Mike, after completing your program bundle, Cloud Engineer Career Development Plus, is there any possibility to get hired in the US? Because I live in a geographically different region. Look, there's the possibility to work remote. There are the possibilities to work in the US or Canada. I have had students come from India and Africa that have moved here that have there. And there are opportunities for companies to sponsor your visa. All possible. But we are not immigration attorneys. And there's always an immigration attorney component to this. Always, 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 always. I will say, our cloud engineering program is not a sysops program by any stretch of the imagination. It will prepare you for much bigger roles than a sysops. Much higher paying roles with much more opportunity no matter where you are anywhere in the world. Obi, we do the best we can to offer free training because we're aware what's out there is pretty terrible unless people are willing to spend a lot of money. We know most people can't afford to spend a lot of money, and that's why we do as much as we can for free. We try very hard to make sure that our free is better than anybody else's paid.
That's so funny. We're on the same page. I just put that in the chat box, not realizing that.
Oh, interesting.
I said the exact same thing. I said the main reason we do so many free things, such as boot camps, workshops, interview practice, and more, is because we understand there are people who need access to the content for free.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's my focus is I give away for free everything we can. And we charge a little more than it costs us to run our program. Not much. And a little more so I can afford to hire the best team in the world. Elonzo's got an MBA over there. Chris has got an MBA over there. They both have years of executive experience. My students, I don't want my students to get, anything other than the top of the end. You should meet Chow. I mean, she's incredible. Or Eddie's got a master's degree too. Or Leo. I wish we all lived in the same house.
They really could meet Chow if Chow wanted to make it happen. I'm just saying, Chow.
Where's Chow at? Where's Chow?
If you don't do it, I was going to say I'll do it. Hey, Chow.
I'm telling you, we can't see you, but I know you're on that screen somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
I'm here. It's good to be here.
Chow is very, very special and amazing in so many ways.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know why you're not coming up on YouTube. I see you on StreamYard.
I don't see her on StreamYard at all. I see a black box.
It's okay. Let's move on to the
She's
next.
so awesome, she broke it. All right, that's
It's pretty incredible.
Love it.
Robert Welch, Mike and his team is changing my life. Thank you, Robert. We try very hard to. This is a family and we learn from each other each day. By far the best thing you've ever done. Robert, it's been an honor to work with you. Robert, you've maximized what we're doing and you're doing fantastic. We were all kinds of happy with the things we heard from you today in class. Super excited. I know I was excited. I know Elonzo's excited.
Yeah.
We're going to expect some pretty major things for you.
Yeah. You are going to be definitely a career of observation. It's going to be wonderful watching you work. So I'm looking forward to it, Rob.
Derek Houston. Derek's another amazing guy over there in Atlanta. Post-COVID, are cloud interviews conducted remote, over Zoom, or in person? All of the above. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. It depends on how big the job actually is. You know, for a lot of these things, you can do them completely over Zoom. I actually got an offer to be senior leadership at one of the cloud companies a couple of years ago until the offer was pulled right before I started. And that's okay. I had to speak to everybody, including the CEO, to get there, and it was all done over Zoom. It was kind of crazy to me. But a lot of stuff is written. But you might actually have to deliver a presentation in public as the last one. Depends on how big the role is, Derek, but it's both. Good question. Chris or Chow, we think we can bring in another one.
Yeah, we're wrapping up. We're getting towards the end. But I think we got a good one to put up on the end. Let's see. Here we go.
Yasmin just bought the program. Congratulations. We're excited to work with you. Looking forward to starting your cloud engineer journey. Oh, well, you know what? You'll be in class on Saturday morning. Wonderful. Because you missed Tuesday's class. It's Saturday, right?
Yeah, because Friday we're going to be here on YouTube for the interview.
Yes. And normally on Friday we have a class as well, but this Friday we've got an interview and a YouTube thing, so it's going to be lots and lots of fun. Thrilled to have you in class. Wait till you see the kind of cool networking stuff that Imran's teaching in the next couple of weeks. You got some great content from we worked with so many great people to make this possible. We're very excited about the engineering program. Azara, thanks for answering your questions. You really do appreciate it. Go for the engineer course. Yeah, I mean, I really would love to work with you, but more importantly, I strongly don't recommend sysops careers because some jobs are a springboard to do bigger and better things, and some jobs are not. You'll be much better off long term as a cloud engineer. Best thing good for you. Yeah, let's give some love to Chow. We all love Chow.
Do a hashtag. Let's get a hashtag.
Let's do a hashtag. We love Chow.
I like that.
Chow's here behind the scenes, moving questions in and out today.
Yeah.
Champion Chow.
There you go. I'll put that on the screen for you. Hashtag we love Chow. Yep, there we go. Here we go. So got a question here.
Elijah, this is a really interesting question. So glad to have found you guys. You'll be starting the program next week, and you're excited learning to learn for us. You'll be doing the non-live. Will I have any deficits compared to the program that has the live? Deficits? No. Lost opportunities? Yes. So I'm going to make it clear, Elijah. It's the same content. It's honestly identical. It's identical. So what happens is I teach a live class. The students in the live class participate in the live class. I put them on the spot. They design architectures. They practice their interviews in live classes. And in the non-live, you get the recording of that class. So you get watch the same class, but you don't get to participate in the class. So to me, I think that is something pretty big. But If you can't afford the class, that's why we created the non-live program. We created the non-live program because we knew not everybody could afford our training. So we created a program that used less of our staff so we can get our costs down. And it's a great program. And I've had students graduate using the non-live version or the live version before we had it and just didn't come to classes and still get hired. So you'll get the same great training, you just won't be in the class. And because you're not in the class, you don't get to ask questions in class, which I think is a loss. But you can still ask us messages on Slack. You're still going to be designing and building your own clouds and all the cool stuff that our students do. You're still big into doing presentations. You're still going to get career feedback, and we're going to be there every step away for you. So you're going to do great. And if you ever find out that you want to upgrade, it's just a difference in cost. But I don't think you're going to need to. We have students doing wonderfully in this program.
Yeah, and just to put it out there, you know, with the non-live version, you know, it is lower cost. Like, we put it out there for a specific reason.
Yes.
And you know, it does include the recordings of all of our live classes, and it does include access to our Slack community. So you're still very much a part of the community. So I just wanted to reiterate that. But yeah. So, all right, Mike. Oh, we got one more. I was gonna wrap it up. But
Austin, hi. Just stopped by to mention that I used Mike's course a while back to get your first AWS certification. That means it was our free course, which is even better. It was a starting point for me, and you're currently working as a DevOps engineer. Augustine, this is great. I'm so happy for you. I'm super, super excited. That's why we have all the free courses that we can possibly do to help as many people as we can. And for the people that want the most elite roles, we have our paid courses, which basically are 1 to 2 days pay for the average graduate. Again, all we're trying to do is change lives and make them better.
yeah. So a follow-up from Obi is he just wanted to make sure that he was, the way that he was putting it was the free courses have so much depth he couldn't imagine what we cover in our paid versions.
What we cover in our paid version makes truly elite cloud architects, but not just the tech.
Right.
It's the total package. The total package. So you've got the career for the future. Not only do you know how to use the tech, but you know how to solve the business problems. That's the secret to the really high-end career.
Yep. All right, Mike. That is it.
Okay, well, everyone, it was super, super nice to have you here today. Let me end on 3 things. We have a completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Engineer Job webinar, and that's on Thursday this week, right?
That is on Thursday.
Link is in the chat box in the description below. Chris tells me where I need to be, and I'm grateful to have him. We are doing some completely free interview training and practice interviews on Friday. Sign up for a chance to be interviewed by me, and I'll even give you feedback so you can get hired on your next interview. I want you all getting hired. Our students or not, I don't care. I want you getting hired. So there's that. If you want recruiters to attack you, join our resume workshop. And I'm going to say it right now, even though I don't like to do this and people tell me I have to do this. If you want your first cloud architect job, seriously consider our cloud architect career development program. And if you want your first cloud engineer job, seriously consider our cloud engineer career development program. All I care is that you get cloud hired. That's my whole goal. So my whole mission. So can we all end on this? Can we all have a hashtag cloud hired, everybody? Because that's why we do what we do, to help you get cloud hired, cloud promoted, or build your absolute best career.
I think that's
Hope
a
you've
good
enjoyed this discussion on the best tech jobs for the future, the most lucrative tech jobs, and the hottest tech jobs.
All right, they're starting to roll in.
And like and subscribe, of course.
Right. And next time we'll ask where everyone is from so that we can create that unified Go Cloud career community. No matter where you are, this is where you can get all your questions answered for Go Cloud careers.
Exactly, and that's the key. The whole world is what we're looking for. We had Cameroonians in here today, which I think is great. we literally had people from all parts of the world. Kenya, the US, South America, Europe.
Yeah.
I know we have some Indian, Pakistani people that are on this call. I
Yep.
mean, just globally, Canadians, everything.
Yep. So I'm going to put this in here in the chat box. I've been putting it in here a little bit throughout the show. Make sure to set a reminder for next week's show. We got a special guest that we're going to be bringing on. We're going to have fun. We know you're here every week, but make sure you come next week. Make sure you share it with your friends next week.
Oh my God, we have somebody from Ethiopia. So Sabine, in my house, I've got a kilo of Burberry. I've got Sparrow in my house. And it was shipped to me from one of my best friends from Ethiopia. So welcome from Ethiopia as well.
All right. Well, I'm going to say goodnight. I'll let everybody else say goodnight, and then we'll end.
Good night, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Chow. Good night.
Good night. Take care.